And we are live. Oh yeah, baby. We're here.
Oh,
We're here. What's going on, guys? Welcome to SwampCast, man. It's Logan, it's EJ. Uh yeah, first live podcast, man. This is, something that I know a lot of people have been saying that they've been wanting to see, and a lot of people do it, and I think people like the interaction. So we're gonna see that and start these bad boys up. Follow us on our Instagram. It'll be I don't think it's in the link in the description as of now, but it's the SwampCast Pod on Instagram, and we'll tell you guys when we're gonna go live. Because we're not gonna go live every single Sunday from here on out, but I would say every other Sunday, just to kind of give you guys updates and everything, especially with how Gator basketball is doing, which is in its own world right now. And of course all the transfer portal news, or lack thereof. That's been interesting, EJ. I know we're gonna dive into that. I mean, it's been open now for a
yeah.
little bit, and we've only seen negativity, I feel like, come to the Gators with this transfer portal so far instead of positivity. So yeah, we'll dive into all that. But EJ, how you doing, man? How's life treating you? I love the hoodie, man. First time seeing that bad boy. That's clean. Also got the shirt you sent me. I'm
Oh,
rocking it. Yes, sir.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Well, it's morning out here in California. We're in San Diego. Yeah, gotta rock my Coach Prime hoodie. Um,
Love it.
so, you know, that's how we do things. And very, very interesting weekend for college basketball. We're gonna talk about that a little bit. Pretty much every team that was ranked lost. And the ones that didn't played another ranked team. So it's like one of them had to lose. Um, and I'm interested to get into our top 25 way, way too early because we're gonna come up with another one after spring and the rosters become a little bit more final. A lot of these teams, we don't even know who their quarterback is, which is a huge indicator. But based on what we know now, if you had to play tomorrow, this would be the ranking. So we're excited about that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, no, it's funny. There's been changes since I've created my top 25, like last, what, Thursday. There's been guys transferring in and out, coaches. We're talking about the big coaching changes that really affect that top 10 as well, which are interesting. Um, but yeah, man, let's dive into this. Um, I guess we could do you want to do Gator updates first and then top 25? What do you want
Sure.
to do? Let's go that route. All right, so let's talk about football first. We'll get into basketball, which is its own little world. But yeah, obviously transfer portal is open, and not a lot has been going on for the Gators. I would say actually more negativity because we have Adrian Maddox. He was a UA Beach safety transfer, 6'3", 200 pounds, big guy. Did really well. Was a big turnover machine at the places he was before, which was UAB and Alabama State, and he flips to Georgia, um, which is interesting that we now have transfer flips. EJ, I want to get your opinion on that. Do you think that they just dropped the bag? They just flew in, dropped the bag on this kid. Tell me what you think happened here. Is it also too like we have a lot of young safeties coming in? I think we have two. Was it two of the top 10 safeties in this 2025 class that came in here? Is he not wanting the competition? Is he wanting to go start? Because I feel like I was looking at the safety room for Georgia. It's there's a lot of competition there too, man. It's not going to be easy. So I feel like coming into University of Florida, all you have is Jordan Castell at the safety position. I think Asa Turner, is he coming back this year? I don't know. Um,
He may, yep.
that's another veteran. So I don't know. What's your opinion on this, man? Because that's a big uh, big hurt, I would say, for this secondary of the Gators.
Yeah, we're looking to add two defensive backs. And we are looking to probably start Castell and Bryce Thornton. Bryce Thornton had a great season. Castell's physical. I think he you know, probably needs a little bit more, um, probably needs to be a little bit more, he kind of struggles a little bit in some of the man-to-man coverage. I think he does really, really good in zone. Um, We're also going to have Sharif Denson and Aaron Gates. So we've got four guys back there that are really, really good. We're tracking Maddox from UAB. So January, the first week in January is when he committed to us. And about a week ago, he left around the same time that we announced Sunseri as the associate defensive coordinator. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. Um, what we don't really know, or what we do know about the portal is you're not really on a team until the portal's completely closed and you're playing a game. Like if someone says they're committed to you, don't believe it until you actually see them in a uniform on the sideline playing for you. Uh, because the way that it goes now, it's there really is no binding contract when you make a commitment. Well, there's really never been a binding contract when you make a commitment. And the national letters of intent for recruits are just sort of thrown away, i.e., what happened with Dallas Wilson, our five-star receiver who signed with Oregon but is now on our team. Um, there's a couple other guys that we're going to be tracking.
But they also dropped Dallas's star rating just last night.
Oh,
Dude, they hate
well,
Florida commits. It's
yeah,
insane.
yeah, yeah. If he was Ohio State or Oregon, he'd be infinity stars. So many stars you couldn't count them. You'd look up at the night sky. That's how many stars they'd give him. But when it comes to Florida, 3 star, 4. He's not really that good anyway. So hey, it is what it is. We'll just be able to say Billy can do more with less. So, but there's a couple other guys. I don't know if they've made decisions, but Jordan Allen was a DB from LSU that we were tracking, as well as Zachariah Poyser from Jacksonville State. Um, he and Maddox are physical and strip the ball. And I'm like, yeah, we need to strip the freaking ball. And one thing that we did really well last year is that we turned people over. It's so incredible how you can win games when your defense contributes to allowing your offense to have more possessions in better field position. The first two Billy Napier years, they didn't do that. We like barely got, we had like 2 interceptions last year, or something like ridiculous like that. I think this year we ended with, I want to say 13 interceptions. Um, if you can get an interception every game, that almost flips the game. If you can block a kick, Urban Meyer had he was like, we don't lose it. We're undefeated when we block a kick. That's the next phase. And I know we're going to talk about the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator situation with Billy Napier, but being able to focus as a head coach at a higher level and then having your team focus on the defense and the offense and the special teams is really what gets you to that next level. Um, but yeah, I don't know what happened with Georgia with Maddox. I think the Sunseri hire led to some uncertainty. He probably felt, well, let me go ahead and go to Georgia. Kirby Smart is a former defensive back, and Georgia is still Georgia. So you never know.
Yeah, very interesting. Another guy that that visited Florida actually was a 6'5", 305-pound Ohio State defensive lineman,
Oh,
Hero
wow.
Kanu.
Okay.
He did not play a lot at Ohio State the past couple years, but he was a top 130 recruit in the 2022 class. He visited Florida. I'm assuming was going to play more of that Desmond Watson, type position in that interior defensive line, just to kind of fill up gaps. Because when you're 6'5", 305, you're a big man. And I
Yeah.
think that's what we were trying to go for there. No new news on him though, and it's almost been a whole week. So, maybe he's just trying to view his options. but that would be a big get for the Gators just to have another big body on the defensive line, have that depth that you were actually talking about, EJ, in previous episodes, where we need depth in that defensive line. We have guys there that are big names, that are young, athletic, fast on the outside, but we need a good interior. We need some good depth there that we can kind of
Yeah.
sub in and out, which we know that Ron likes to do with his defense is the subs. So we'll see. Just another guy to watch. But yeah, no. I feel like, you know what's so weird, EJ, is with this transfer portal going on right now, there's not a lot of news in general, right? Am I crazy, or
Right.
it's just a very quiet, guys are trying to figure stuff out? How do you know how long this one lasts? What it's going to go to?
It's probably um so I think we're pretty much set right now, our roster for the spring, because the spring game is what, the first week in April?
Yeah, I think first second week.
So somewhere around there. And I think the transfer portal opens for another limited time period immediately thereafter
Hmm.
for players who, didn't make the roster. Coaches are saying, yeah, you're at this point, you're fourth on the depth chart. Those players can enter the portal and you can make final decisions about your roster heading into the summer. And we've got several good players at that time period. So for example, Elijah Badger, our star receiver this year, didn't come to Florida until around May of last year. So it hadn't even been a full year. So I do expect that time frame to kind of materialize some key components. It is kind of what a lot of people have anxiety over is it's late in the process, right? And we don't really have answers at some of these key positions, like on the defensive line, like you were saying. You've got to have at least 8, probably 9 or 10 guys that you can play on the defensive line. Um, which is what gave us a lot of success as opposed to our defense like we were in 2022 and 2023 getting completely worn out and you're running all over us in the fourth quarter. Our defense actually got stronger as the game went on and actually started to get after the quarterback and stop the run and get interceptions and get pressure. Um, that was because of the depth of the defensive line, as well as some really good scheming by the defense, but also not being so far behind where the other team can just run it down your throats
Right.
and control the clock. Like they were in desperation, they had to throw it, and we were able to get a good pass rush going. So,
100%. Yeah, and we have some, like we said, we got some big bodies coming back. Whether it's
oh
Sav,
yeah,
you know, what I mean, we got Banks. It's just we had some departures as well in Cam Jackson. So we definitely need to just get some depth pieces, and I think the Ohio State guy would be a nice addition there. So yeah, you're totally right. I think after the spring games, that would be a big one to watch. Let's talk about, since we're on the defense, let's talk about this defensive coordinator that we are bringing in, man. Vinny Sensori.
Sunseri, yeah,
There you go.
yeah,
Fun Italian name. So he's a co-defensive coordinator, the position that obviously Austin Armstrong had. This is a young guy, 33 years old, very similar to Austin Armstrong. His history is he played at Alabama. This is, by the way, all via Florida Gator logo from Instagram. He played at Alabama, won 2 national championships when they went back-to-back in 2011 and 2012. And his dad was actually a defensive line coach in 2018
yeah.
at Florida. His name was Sal. But yeah, so obviously was a really good player at Alabama during those 2 years. And he worked with New England from 2020 to 2023 under Bill Belichick, which is one of the best, I would say, the best defensive mind in football in general. If not one of the best. And then was with the Washington Huskies in 2024 as a safeties coach. He was then hired at Jacksonville State as a DC January 2nd, and then obviously we came in and swooped him up from Jacksonville State. So listen, the guy doesn't have a lot of, I don't know if he has any defensive, experience as a defensive coordinator at the collegiate level. Um, so that is a little bit worrisome there, but this guy was under Bill Belichick, a guy who changes his whole defensive scheme and shapes it around his opponent in the NFL every single week. You know what I mean? I mean, just it's unbelievable that scheme change. Nick Saban has talked very highly of how flexible and responsive Bill Belichick's defenses are. So hopefully Vinny adopted a little bit of that, brings it to the Florida Gators. Is it the hire I would have wanted? No. In my opinion, we should have got rid of Ron Roberts and got a home run hire. We saw what Penn State did with Jim Knowles from Ohio State. So my question is why couldn't Florida go out, since we're not getting an offensive coordinator, and go drop a bag, on some big defensive coordinator, or something. I mean, look at the Rutgers head coach. We talked about that. You sent me that, EJ. It's unreal. The Rutgers head coach goes and takes a defensive coordinator job. It's like, what the hell? What's going on? So why can't we go get someone like that? I think that right now the Gators need a home run hire, because I think 2025 is the year for the Gators. You have a young DJ Lagway that is now surrounded by so many great playmakers and a lot of veteran players, whether it's on offense or defense, and I think this is the year that the Gators need to make a big run. Billy Napier just seems like he's just trying to keep the momentum of the build, right? Which I respect, but you gotta at least make the playoff this year to keep the fans engaged, right? So it's a balance of building, but also keeping the fans engaged. And so hopefully Vinny comes in, makes a big difference. I think that Billy Napier's playing this as, okay, let's let Ron Roberts pass that baton to Vinny in the future seasons of the Gators, and let him, eventually take over that main role. EJ, what's your feeling on this hire? What's your take on everything that I just stated?
Yeah, great take. You know, so I'm old enough to remember his dad, Sal Sunseri. I believe he coached at Tennessee as a defensive coordinator for a while. Um, Known for physical, hard-hitting, intimidating defenses. And his son, I think he has two sons, and so Vinny is one of his kids, and he played at Alabama. I remember him playing at Alabama. He was a really, really good, solid, smart safety. And obviously he's on the track to eventually become a head coach. Um, Back to kind of what you were saying, I personally would have rather used the dollars to or use this position or FTE or whatever you want to call it, um, to go after an offensive coordinator. And that's what I thought we were doing. I mean, I'd be perfectly fine with keeping Rob Roberts as defensive coordinator and then getting a elite offensive coordinator for this, you know, with the salary that we were paying. But it's Billy Napier, and we all know that Billy Napier is going to live by the sword, die by the sword. It's an unconventional coaching staff where you've got two defensive coordinators and no offensive coordinator. And the head coach is the one that calls the plays. Now, people are going to say, well, Rob Sale's the offensive coordinator. He's listed. You're not the offensive coordinator if you're not calling the plays, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Um, I don't recall, and I know we're talking about Sinceri, but in terms of the offensive coordinator, I would have rather gotten a position because I don't recall a team winning a national championship with the head coach calling their own plays, other than Steve Spurrier back in like '96. So like, it probably like nobody on the live was even born then. So, the reality is, I think Sunseri is a really good coach. He seems like he knows the game very, very well. He's obviously smart, and Billy Napier obviously believes in him. It'll be interesting to see. It is the trend that Billy likes to go and hire younger coaches that he can sort of mold and younger coaches that can uh, relate to the players a little bit more. But I think at the end of the day, you've got to, if you're the Florida Gators, until there's a proof of concept that this model of leadership in the coaching staff translates into 10-win seasons with SEC championships and playoff berths, people are going to criticize Billy Napier for doing this. To me, given what we've seen from this team over the last 3 years, where we don't know how to count to 11, we don't know how to get players on the field, we don't know how to not false start on 3rd and inches. People are running out there with the same jersey number half the time on special teams. Billy Napier, no one's there to tell him to not run a jet sweep on 3rd and 1 when you could have just tummy tucked or tushy push your way to a first down or whatever they call
Or
that play.
Jaden Ball, give it to him. Give it the ball, baby.
Or Wild Gator with Jaden Ball, easy yard pickup. Uh, so, the bottom line is we're going to die on the sword. If it works out, this is great. Sunseri, dominant defense. But if we get out there looking like we've never played defense before, we can't play coverage, we can't get any pressure, we can't tackle, whose fault is that? So we can't make any assessments until we start to see the season unfold. And the last thing I'll say is, because Billy has never won as a head coach at the major level, you know, we would have liked to see him go out and get an assistant coach that somebody that has experience,
I saw
with
some.
at least relative to the season that you're in, a coach that knows how to develop and build a championship team. And right now, we got a bunch of people who are really good at what they do, but nobody's really won a championship. I mean, I guess Gonzalez has probably, I got to go take a look back, but he's probably done something great. But other than him, you need some great guys. Ryan Day is out there buying head coaches at as coordinators, and Penn State just got Jim Beyonce Knowles to run their defense, which I'm kind of like, okay, first of all, can we do something like that? Why couldn't we go hire this guy? So, well, they paid him $3 million, so that's crazy. Steve Spurrier. Here's the last thing I'll say. Steve Spurrier, when he was last head coach here, his salary was $3.5 million. They're paying Jim Beyonce Knowles $3.5 million to be the defensive coordinator at Penn State in 2025. It's like crazy. I don't know if that's inflation. Like, who knows? But that is how college football has changed.
You brought up a really interesting point. You said, go hire someone that's a proven coordinator, because Billy Napier is not. And because people are always like, oh, well, look at Steve Sarkisian. He calls his own plays. And it's like, well, yeah, but he was a incredible offensive coordinator at the D1 level right before he was a head coach. Billy Napier got fired as an offensive coordinator at Clemson and did not have a good offense at, I think it was Arizona State, as an offensive coordinator.
Yep.
His offense was like, we're talking down the 60s, 50s in total offense. So it's like, it'd be different if he was, a really, really good and proven championship level offensive play caller. Then you got guys like Ryan Day, who is a national championship caliber offensive coordinator, who still has the guts to be like, yeah, you know what? Just for the sake of my team, I know I could probably call them to the national championship, but I'm going to take a step back because I already have so much going on in my head, whether it's the transfer portal, getting players, keeping my players here. You're the CEO of this football team, which Billy Napier, I think, that's his best asset. That's his best contribution when it comes to this team, is he's an amazing CEO of the football team. And Ryan Day realizes, I can't do that and also be a great offensive coordinator and a great play caller for this Ohio State Buckeyes offense.
That's a great point. And it kind of brings me to people in general. Like, can we talk about that? First of all, I feel like Billy Napier is afraid. There's some sort of imposter syndrome or some kind of fear of what the hell am I going to do if I'm not calling the plays? You know what I mean? Like, he's never been a coach that hasn't called the plays on offense. So I kind of feel like from a personal standpoint, he doesn't want to take that risk because he knows the known, right? It's a known that if I call the plays, this is how things are going to work. If I relinquish that to someone else, I lose control. I don't know what to do. But I think you need a mentor, buddy. Go call Nick Saban. Didn't you coach with him for a couple years? Go call Dabo Sweeney if he'll answer. Probably won't answer your call.
Just decline.
so I'm like, Ryan Day, who, by the way, his first job was GA at UF, just so everyone knows, 2005, was an outstanding offensive coordinator. Urban Meyer trusted him to call the plays. Urban Meyer only trusts like the best. Like, you have to know what the hell you're doing if you're going to call plays for Urban Meyer. And even he decided, you know what? I need to focus on every aspect of this team and make sure that it's game day ready. And Chip Kelly, I feel 100% confident if I turn over the offense to him, we're going to have an elite offense. And, when you're looking at the big picture with Napier, the offense hasn't really been as problematic in the aggregate as the defense. I think the defense the first 2 years was just so bad that it didn't matter what our offense did because we couldn't stop anyone. We were giving up Samford ran all over it. Samford scored like 50 points. Samford. So anyway, Napier, I just feel like he's afraid of what the hell does it mean to be a head coach if I give up the play calling duties to some other person? Let us tell you, we're happy to tell you, go focus on the special teams so that we can actually be special on special teams. Okay, yeah, we have a great kicker. We kick 50-yard field goals. That's it. Well, we had a good punter too. He was really good. But other than that, we never blocked a kick. We didn't play beamer ball. We didn't return a kick past the 20 this year. Who the hell's returning kicks? I remember when we had Urban Meyer, it was people did not want to kick to us. They were like, okay, we could not kick to Brandon James or Percy Harvin. If we kick to them, it's game over. And guess what? They still kicked to him and they ran it back for a touchdown. We haven't run a touchdown back on a punt, on a kick since, well, it was Tony, and that was Mullen. So I don't know what you're doing, Billy, but you're not focusing on special teams. So that is my only gripe. He should have got the offensive coordinator. Vinny, you're a Gator now. We love you, dude. The defense better be good. If it's not, we're going to tell Billy he screwed up.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't think the defense is going to get worse. I will say that. I don't see it being on a major decline. I think the momentum that we saw at the end of the year was huge. And the big thing, that's the best we've seen the defense really in the past, I don't know how long, past 5-6 years, even going back to Grantham, before Grantham's first year, we had a really good defense, and he somehow declined every season. So, I mean, really, maybe that's that first year of Grantham's defense.
Yeah, definitely our best defense since Grantham. And we gave Grantham a lot of shit, but
it was just the third downs.
Yeah, it was just the third down. Like, what the hell?
I do want to say this. We've talked about it a lot, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. But Billy Napier's offense, it's not a bad offense. Like people always talk about, oh, well, we're, good at this, we're good at this. And it's like, yeah, but the problem with Billy Napier's offense is he relies fully on the players themselves. And I think that's important, right? To let your players do their thing. And we've seen that with guys like, Trey Wilson and the guys in the backfield, the insane running back class we have. We've seen that with Richardson and Lagway. My thing though is whenever those players are having an off day, right? Whenever the defense is schemed around stopping that one player, the whole scheme falls apart. And Billy Napier's offense does not make reading the field easy for the quarterback. He doesn't make, he doesn't get his players in wide open areas for them to do. He fully relies on them almost playing a perfect down to find success, right? There's like a very small margin for success, and that's my problem with Billy Napier's offense. Is it's almost too much pressure on these young players to make big things happen, and I think Billy Napier at his best is going to have an average offense. That's it, an average to good offense. Unless you have a national championship caliber defense, we're talking Penn State and Ohio State of this season. You're not going to win a national championship with an average to good offense. It's not going to happen. You need to have a little bit better than that. And like I said, unless you have a championship caliber defense like we saw this year, like I said, with Ohio State and with Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame probably had an average to good offense. But their defense was insanely good, right? You got Marcus Freeman over here at the helm. Once again, a proven guy that's orchestrating that defense. So that's my problem with Billy Napier is I just think his offense is just it doesn't make the game easy for the players, and because of that you're not going to see games where we put up 45 points or 40 points on a good, you know what I mean? That's my problem. And these really close, nail-biting games that we saw against Ole Miss, that we saw against LSU, even though we won those games. Do we really want to have a game like that every single time we play a big opponent? No, I want to have games where we dominate sometimes, and I don't think that's possible with Billy Napier's offense. Anyway, just wanted to state that.
100%. 2020, we averaged 39.8 points a game. This was the Kyle Trask year. 39.8 points a game, 509 total yards, Jesus. 306 passing, 203 rushing. I don't know if that's correct. And if you look at the Billy Napier offenses, they've averaged around 28 points a game in his first 3 years. So a full 10 points less. The best year was actually last year. We averaged 28.4 points a game. We only averaged 27.9 this year. And 156 yards rushing per game. Now, here's the deal. The strength of schedule in 2024 was so tough that the percentage of the time that we would hit our season average was very, very high because every team that we played was really, really good. And when you can hit these averages against all these elite teams, that's a really good sign. And if we had played an easier schedule, maybe those numbers would be significantly higher. But I think, to your point, you've got to build your offense to be good enough to compete against your schedule on an annual basis and score more points than the opponents on your schedule and beat the teams that you're going to play every single year. If we have to play Georgia, Tennessee, Florida State, LSU, Texas A&M, Miami, Ole Miss, like that's literally, I probably forgot someone, Kentucky. If you have to play all those teams in a year, guess what you're going to need? You're going to need somebody that can score some points. Mm-hmm. And you're going to need a good backup quarterback. What the heck has happened to our backup quarterback? So you can't just lollygag into a season without these components in place. And I think what we're missing is we know where we competed last year. ended the year on a 4-game winning streak. We're really, really happy about that. What is it going to take to maintain that and even go to the next level? Because I don't think what Billy is understanding is that you've got to elevate and upgrade. Look at Ohio State. Look at Ohio State. Now, we're not Ohio State. Apparently they got more money than us. But when they didn't beat Michigan that one year and then they didn't win the national championship, they said, you know what? We need to upgrade. Let's do everything that we can to get some of these people in here. And it worked out for them. Now they end up losing to Michigan again, which was a fluke. But at the end of the day, they won the national championship. They powered through. Now, I will tell people this. The 4 games that we played at the end of the year was equivalent to a college playoff run. Like if you have to play Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, LSU all in a row, that's basically like a playoff schedule.
Yep.
So we showed that we can actually get through some of these games. Now, the Texas game, we got absolutely humiliated because obviously we had Make-A-Wish Kid at quarterback.
The morale
But
was down. Like the whole thing. Yeah, we
we
didn't
were
want to
just
win that
like
game.
mail it in, Texas, just we'll go have some tacos at the border or something after this game. It is what it is. But hopefully that game will be a lot better this year. But the Georgia game was competitive, and obviously we won 2 of them. So we showed that we can actually go through a stretch like that, kind of like what Ohio State did. But we're not seeing how we are upgrading the team, meaning we're supplementing and complementing the best players that contributed last year with additional playmakers. Okay. We're not seeing that. We need a lockdown number 1 DB. Can somebody go get a number 1 lockdown DB? Like I like our guys, but
One that can stay healthy, by the way.
what one that doesn't you breathe and they're out for the year. So here's the deal. You need a lockdown DB. Somebody that you should say, hey, when you're on this side of the field, guess what? They're not throwing over there. Now we had Marshall. He got hurt. It is what it is. You need to go get a top-notch DB. Then I think we're pretty good at receiver. We'll see what happens. You got your franchise quarterback Lagway. But just like Ole Miss and Ohio State went hammer time at that D line, we have really good D linemen. Go get 2 more guys that can just like Jonathan Grenard, Ja'Kai Polite. Do y'all remember these people? You can block them. You can snap, instant sack. That's what you need. Ohio State, the reason why they made the run is not because their offense is lighting up the scoreboard. It's because when their defense went out there to play against the other team's offense, you couldn't score on them. You could, as soon as you'd hike the ball, it's like a jailbreak at the quarterback. And you were playing Oregon. Oregon played any other team. They're probably scoring 40-some points. But you played Ohio State, you could barely snap the ball to the quarterback. So they didn't win because Will Howard was out there Hercules. They won because you couldn't score enough points against them to actually keep the games competitive. So I'm not saying that we're not going to be able to do that. We have a really good team, but I'm seeing 8, 9 wins as a max. We've reached our potential, and we can't be okay with that. We need to go get top notch, the best player possible. Who knows?
That's a really good point. Like when you actually look at the talent comparison between us and a team like Ohio State or a team like, Texas or Penn State, teams that we, have in the top 10 and that will probably make the playoff next year, it's huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I totally agree. I don't know what we have to do, but I'm tired of just having good talent. We need great talent. And it sucks because it's always been hard at the University of Florida to bring it in because we're battling teams like FSU and Miami, and there's big names here. If you're over in Ohio State,
you're on an island.
You have nobody. You got nobody.
Yeah.
You're fighting with people from Michigan, right? It's insane. You are you have your own talent, and it's hard, man. Georgia, another team. You got your own state. You're battling with Georgia Tech a little bit, but come on, man.
You're a monopoly. LSU is a monopoly.
Great example. And so that it's gonna be hard at the University of Florida, but hey, that logo, that Gator head, that means something still, and we can't lose it. And I feel like we talked about this multiple times, EJ, once again, but I feel like we're on the cusp of losing that. I love that, dude. Is he in a suit? That's iconic. I love it. And we're on the cusp of losing that. So, like you said, we cannot be okay with these 8 wins. We cannot be okay. The Gators need to be a team that's in the playoff every single year, especially now with it being 12 team. We have no excuse. I don't care how, the schedule's hard. I don't care how hard it is. Get in there, get talent, hire the right people for the right, in the right positions and that are perfect for the job, and get it done. Bro, you cannot tell me that Ohio State has that much more money than us. Come on.
Exactly. And let me just give you an example. So I work in healthcare, and when you have a hospital that's like serving downtown, the patients that come are sicker and have more traumatic injuries, right? Similar to a football team that has a very difficult schedule. The patients that you're going to treat are more difficult. They're more challenging. They are sicker. So you can't just go and complain and say, well, I know everyone's sick and everyone's, been in car accidents and spines are all jacked up. Well, there's nothing we can do. No, you need to go and invest you need to bring in the best doctors. You need to bring in the best equipment. You need to bring in the best so that you can handle what you have to deal with. When we have a very difficult schedule in football, oh, well, 8 wins. I can see us getting 8 wins, 9 wins. No, it is what it is. Your schedule is what it is. Figure out what you need to win, in theory, all of your games against your schedule, and go out and do it. In the years of the recruiting, okay, maybe we were 3-4 years away because you got to build up toward that. But now that you can microwave your way to a meal, I wonder what they did before the microwave, now that I'm saying that. You had to put everything on the stove in the oven.
Yep.
That took
Throw it in the
forever.
dryer. Yeah.
Put it out in the sun.
Hold
Wild. But anyway, we can microwave our team to get really hot. Get your butt out there and get these players in here.
Also,
that's all you need to do.
Also, a tough schedule is an asset. You know what I mean? Well, I don't know.
Yes.
With how they went about the whole Alabama and SMU thing this year was an issue. But I'm just saying, you will have a better, what's what I'm looking for? I don't know. You'll have more criteria to point at, right? And be like, hey, look, this is the resume. My resume is 10 times better. I have wins over this many top, dude, we're going to play so many top 15, top 10 teams this season. It's like, hey, look how many top 10 teams we beat. This is important. Yeah, we lost to these 2 guys, but look who we beat. And I think that
exactly,
that's huge. So I totally agree. It's all mindset. Be excited. Be ready. Looks like that from what, I follow a lot of, listen, I follow like 2,000 people on Instagram. I would say about 1,000 of that is all Gator related. And I follow a bunch of the players. They all seem very hyped. They just put up the schedule. You know how they put it up in the facilities that they can look at. It's in the locker room. And so many of them took pictures of it and just were just hungry, man. You could tell they're ready for it. They're hyped. Nobody's going to give the Gators credit this year. It's all going to be about DJ Lagway, but no one's going to care about the football team themselves. And I think that hopefully they have that hunger, man, and use that schedule as, okay, bet. We're going to stay healthy, we're going to push through, and we're going to have more criteria to point to. So I totally agree, EJ.
Yeah, and then injuries are going to have, when you're playing the people we have to play, Somebody's going to get hurt. So you need to have depth. Get your butt out there and get some of these portal people in here. And I don't see why we can't. Ohio State, look who they got. Caleb Downs. He's all over the field. He may be on the opposite side of the field, but by the time the play's over, he's taking somebody's head off.
They got Will Howard.
They got Will Howard. They got Judkins from Ole Miss, which was wild. Lane Kiffin was pissed. But they got him. And guess what they did? Ran all over people. So here's the deal. We don't need a Judkins because I actually think Baugh is probably better. Jackson is, I really love these guys. These are really, they're underrated. We have the best backfield in the SEC. I 100% believe that. Who the hell's better? No one's better. Hopefully that hamstring can stay healthy. But if a hamstring does go down, we can't look like we did against Texas, where it's like Make-A-Wish kid out there. You got to put somebody out there that can at least conduct the offense. Look at Ole Miss. Jackson Dart, he went out for a little bit. Then who they bring in? Austin Simmons. What's this kid doing? Instant touchdown on his opening drive. That's what you need. So I don't know if Billy just thinks we can't. Well, maybe we got to get a quarterback. What's with all these statues at quarterback? I went to Vegas for the bowl game. I forgot the guy's name. He came from Ohio State.
Anyway, oh man, yeah, I'll think about it.
Miller.
Jack Miller.
Jack Miller. We played. Okay. Anthony Richardson decided, you know what? I'm hanging it up, guys. I get injured. When you breathe on me, I get injured. Same thing happened with the Colts. Then you bring Jack Miller out there. The guy looked like he never played quarterback his whole life. We're playing Oregon State. We're not even playing like the Steelers. You're playing Oregon State, for crying out loud. We couldn't move the ball. And it took us, it was a miracle. And we kicked the field goal in the last, as time expired, like it was a game winner.
The crowd
Too bad
crazy.
it was 30-0 at that. They're beating us 30-0. But let me tell you something. We're happy it was in Vegas because we got plastered right after. But anyway, that's what I'm talking about. You got to have a good quarterback system. I understand a good quarterback's not going to want to come because they all want to play and the blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. You got to have somebody back there that is serviceable, that can do something. Then the key playmaking positions, you got to have Jeremiah Smith. Where'd this guy come from? He was a true freshman. You throw the ball up and it's like Jerry Rice, Santana Moss, Reggie Miller, everybody. It was like every best player in one player. Who's that Alabama guy? Julio Jones.
Megatron.
AJ Green from Georgia. He was like all of them in one person. Throw it up, easy catch, first down, keep the chains moving. We can't even have one player like that. They got like 10. Give us one player like that and the game over. Listen, I love DJ Lagway, but he needs help. He can't just go out there and Superman people. That's why Notre Dame lost. You had Riley Leonard out there trying to Superman the whole Ohio State defense, and he ran out of. They gave him the kryptonite after the first drive. You can't do that. You need help. So hopefully, Billy Napier, if you're listening, what was that? It was something funny. I forgot what it was. But anyway, Billy Napier, if you're listening, these guys need help. Get out there, get them some support. We're rooting for you.
It's going to be very interesting this season, man. A lot of these young guys are going to have to step up. You know what I mean? Montgomery, Wilson. You're going to have to get out there and step up and make things happen.
Yeah, Montgomery. I I think highly of that guy. But let me tell you something. The spring game. I don't know if you're going to spring game.
I'll try to be there for sure.
The spring game always gives you hints of who's going to be the guy. Baugh, he went crazy last year. They like gave him the ball, and we're like, wait, who's this guy? He's running all over everyone. Is our defense terrible, or is he just that good? I have a feeling we're going to see something similar from the wide receivers. So
We need to.
there you go.
We need to.
Yeah.
There's no like if we don't, I'm gonna be extremely disappointed. I mean, Orange and Blue game is a very offensive, game. I mean, hopefully we see something happen. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, that I totally agree. What I'm most worried about is the offensive line. That's
Oh,
we've talked about that just so much, but you know, hopefully, in the Orange and Blue game, they're going to mix a lot of stuff up on the offensive line. I want to see every combination possible and see what works best. Run blocking, I'm not necessarily worried about that because we have guys that will get 3 yards even if they get contacted in the backfield. We saw that so many times this year, especially with guys like Jake Slaughter. I mean, coming back,
yeah.
that's huge. This dude has a brick, and he's still coming back, which is going to be amazing. And Barber, we got a lot of returnees. So I'm not worried about the run game. I'm worried about pass. Who's going to be at the tackle position? Can we keep that blind side of Lagway on that left side? Just keep him safe, man. And if we can pass block and give Lagway 3 seconds at least, whoo, man, it's going to be dangerous and it's going to be a fun offense. So we'll see. I'm very excited. EJ, any last things you want to mention about Gator football before we dive into Gator basketball?
Um, I really hope we can seal the deal on a couple of really good players, a couple of really good difference makers. Um, and by difference makers, I mean guys that can get you to the playoff. And we need some conditioning. I know that it's you got to be lucky to win a national championship by avoiding injuries. But if we keep having these years where half the team's injured, you're not going to do anything. So those are my last 2 comments. Hopefully we can figure that out.
There you go. There you go. All right, so EJ is obviously a big time Florida Gator basketball fan. I've started to watch some games this season. I love it. The Gators are on one of the hardest stretches of the season. When you really look at it, let me let me read out some of the next 3 games we have. So obviously we just played at Tennessee. We play number 24 Vanderbilt, number 1 Auburn. I mean, this is before obviously last night's games, the rankings. And then we play at Mississippi State. We got 2 tough road games in a row. EJ, let's dive into this Tennessee basketball game. I'm gonna go take a restroom break while you're doing this. Man, explain what happened offensively. Obviously, Clayton gets injured, comes back in the second half. Kind of talk about that, and let's take a look at these next 3 games we have, man. I mean, we have to win. I would assume at least 2 of them to kind of come out of this happy. But go ahead and dive into it.
Gators. So this Tennessee basketball game, let's talk a little bit about this. So at the end of the day, a lot of people thought that this game against Tennessee the outcome was expected. To me, it was a little bit surprising. And it was surprising because um, we had a bye week. So I really like how the SEC has incorporated these midweek buys where you don't play on either the Tuesday or the Wednesday. You have the full week off, and then you don't play until the next Saturday. I really like how they do that. And every team has one of those at some point in the season. We're all going through a season where the different teams have those. I thought coming off of that midweek bye, we're motivated. Tennessee's coming off a loss. They're down. Then we learn They don't have their point guard. They don't have Milicic. Well, that ended up screwing us because now they were a little bit more physical and they had a little bit more size. And the calling card of Rick Barnes and the Tennessee Vols is they are a really good defensive team. And taking Ziegler out and replacing him with Gainey, and then taking out Milicic and replacing him with Dubar made Tennessee a little bit more of a physically intimidating team, for better or for worse. And it kind of threw off our game plan a little bit. That combined with the fact that we could not score. 44 points is what we score in a half. At least we were happy that, hey, we scored one more than they did when they came to Gainesville. I mean, they got 43, we got 44. But anyway, it just wasn't a great game. 24% field goal shooting is abysmal. And 4 out of 27 threes for 15%. It was almost a complete reverse of the first game. If you go and look at the stats of the first game, the stats are complete reverse. It's like Tennessee shot what we shot in this game, in their first game against us, and our shooting percentage was what they shot in this game. So it was complete role reversal, but it is what it is. Now, looking at the big picture, we're hoping that Walter Clayton Jr. is going to be okay with his ankle. It's hard to go 30 games without somebody getting hurt, you know. It's just really unfortunate what happened. He was trying to make a pass, a jump pass, and he landed on someone's foot and sprained the ankle. It's almost exactly what happened to Janai Broome at Auburn. These ankle injuries, you know, when you're young, you're in your 20s, it can go either way. It could be like, okay, yeah, this is going to be at least 10 days, 2 weeks. Or it could be you wake up the next day, it's a little bit sore, and then 2 days later, it's like, oh, I'm healed. You never know. For now, he's probably listed day to day, and we'll see if he plays Tuesday against Vanderbilt. When you look at the SEC this year, it's ridiculous in terms of how many good teams are in the league this year, and really how good all the coaches are too. All the coaches of all these teams are really good coaches. So the SEC is really invested in the basketball programs. When you look at our team relative to the rest of the SEC, I think we offer a little bit of a different dynamic where we've got size, we rebound well. The issue with our team is when we do not get going early, meaning we don't find a rhythm offensively. I've noticed that our team does not play hard on the defensive end. And not that we're already not this incredible defensive team. I think we're a really good defensive team, but we're not like shut you down like Tennessee where you can't make anything, right? We're pretty good. Our defense is fueled by whether or not we're making shots, and that was the issue in this game. When you look at our players, Walter Clayton Jr. can create his own shot. Elijah Martin can create his own shot. He kind of disappeared in this game. Will Richard sort of disappeared in the game. Condon struggled. Chinyalu is not really an offensive threat, but he struggled to do what he does, which is rebound, and he did block one shot, but we all kind of struggled. It looked like we were all hungover almost. Like it's like we got off the plane and we're like, oh man, we drank too much last. I don't know what the issue is. My hope for this team is that last year we went 11-7 in the conference. We went 9-0 at home, or 8-1 at home, 3-6 on the road. My hope is that we can improve each of those by one game. So go 9-0 at home, 4-5 on the road. We already lost a home game. So the best we can be is 8-1. And I'm like, well, can we still go 4-5 on the road? Well, when you look at our road games, um, we've got 5 road games left. We've got Auburn and Alabama, which are basically the 2 best teams. I mean, I know they're going to say Duke and Iowa State and all these. Who's the other team? I think that's it. Duke and Iowa State. They're going to try to say that those teams are the best because Iowa State's in the Big 12 and Duke's in the ACC, and they want to hype up a team from every conference to say that they're a Final Four contender. No, Alabama and Auburn are the 2 best teams. Period. So then, and we got to play both those teams on the road. So it's like, what the hell is this? So then you got to play at Georgia, at LSU, and then you've got one game at Mississippi State. So that's your 5 road games. We're 2-2 on the road right now. Can we win 2 of those 5? So it's common knowledge that maybe we can win the Georgia game and the LSU game. I don't know. Not if we get off the plane looking like we're hungover. Georgia is not your grandma's Georgia team. Yeah, we beat them by 30, but hey, we beat Tennessee by 30, and then they killed us when we went to their place. So the Georgia game is going to be a big one, and the LSU game are going to be a big one. Now, the Auburn, Alabama, LSU, or Mississippi State, if we can win one of those 3, I'd be elated. All 3 of those teams are top 15. If we can win one of those, that would be great. The Auburn game is not really a good matchup against us. Alabama, I think we match up well with Alabama if we played them on a neutral court or in our gym, in their gym. How it goes in the SEC is, think of it, how difficult is it to play on the road? Think of it as like your cell phone. When your cell phone is always plugged in, you have like all this energy, right? You can do whatever, you can play video games, it never loses battery power. When it's not plugged in and you start playing on your games, it loses power. So when you're playing at home, it's like you're always plugged in. You've always got energy. You're trying to kill somebody. That's what it is like playing at home versus going on the road. You're not plugged in for some reason. Um, and so the greatest teams are able to somehow be plugged in when they go on the road. And for some reason, the last 2 road games, we've actually played really, really poorly. So I'm not banking on beating Alabama, Auburn, or Mississippi State. I hope we can beat one of those teams, but I'm thinking that we can probably beat Georgia and LSU to get to 12-6 in the SEC. And last thing I'll say is you want to finish in the top 4 of the SEC standings at the end of the year because the SEC tournament is going to come around, which is going to be absolute cinema. I mean, there's 10 ranked teams. So this is going to be like you basically in the Sweet 16 already when you go to the SEC tournament. That's how, I mean, there's 16 teams, so you might as well just say it's the Sweet 16. So anyway, when you finish in the top 4, you get a double bye in the SEC tournament, meaning you don't have to play until Friday. If you finish 5 through 8, you get a bye, so you don't play until Thursday. If you finish 9 through 16, you don't get any bye. You have to play on the first day, which is Wednesday. So if you finish from 9 to 16, you have to win 5 games in 5 days to win the SEC tournament, which is like impossible. And we saw our team last year. We we had to play 4 games in 4 days, and in the championship game on Sunday when we played against Auburn, they were only on their 3rd game, and we were on our 4th game, and it looked like we ran out of gas, and then our guy broke his leg halfway through the air, and I'm kind of like, okay, we're done. So the bye is so important for you to be healthy. So you got to finish in that top 4. To me, I thought a 13-5 record would get you into that top 4, which means we got to go, what is that? 8-2 in the last 10 games to get to 13-5, which is, I mean, we can win all our home games, but to go 13-5 is a pretty tough stretch. I'd probably say 7-3 in the last 10, which would put you at 12-6, which I still think would be an excellent record looking at how good the SEC is. When you have the top 2 teams in the SEC. So that's my spiel. Hopefully, we can rally the troops. We play Vanderbilt at home on Tuesday night. Vanderbilt is a really good defensive team. They're very disruptive. I think they lead the SEC in steals. If Walter Clayton Jr. doesn't play, that's the dynamic. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I feel like if he plays, I feel very confident in us being able to win. If he doesn't play, I still think we'd probably win, but it would be an interesting game to see how we would be able to pull it off. We'd have to really play well on defense. And then we go to Auburn next Saturday, which I don't know. Based on how this past Saturday went, people are going to say there's no chance we can beat Auburn. But if Auburn does lose a game, it wouldn't surprise me if it was to us, because for some reason, when we play Auburn, everybody's focused and wants to play hard. So we'll see what happens. It's a incredible year in the SEC. And I will just comment on this. There was a Kentucky-Arkansas game last night. I don't know if anyone caught it, but it was just a huge build up to this game because Coach Calipari coached at Kentucky for like 16 years, 15, 16 years. Won them all these championships. They won 6 SEC tournament championships, 6 regular season titles. We hadn't won a regular season title since Billy Donovan was here. He won 6 of them, and the Kentucky fans wanted to kick him out. They threw him out. They said, "Get out of here, Coach Cal. You're trash." So Coach Cal goes to Arkansas, which is still a storied program. They're a very proud program. They have an incredible fan base. They're backed by the billionaires of Walmart and Tyson Foods. If anyone eats the Tyson chicken, it's Arkansas. Anyway, so he goes out there to Arkansas, brings 3 players from Kentucky to Arkansas. So 3 players that played in this game were on the Kentucky roster last year, along with Coach Cal, who was the Kentucky head coach. So the Arkansas fans are like, "Yeah, Kentucky, you guys are right. He's trash. We're losing too many games." I'm like, people, not everybody can win all these games. And people are going to lose. Look at, not every team can go undefeated. Like, what do you people expect? So he lost a couple games. People saying he's trash. He goes to Kentucky. The Kentucky fans were like, "Oh, Mark Pope, he's our savior. He's doing so great. Calipari's trash." And they go in there and they handle him. So Arkansas, I don't know if this was like their coming out party, if they're going to start being good. Good thing we already played them. We don't have to play them again. But that was just so funny because it's almost like that saying, serves you right. Y'all were talking trash about Calipari. You should have you should have applauded him before the game started. You booed, and guess what happened? You got destroyed. So that's what I'll say about that. Hopefully we can beat Vanderbilt. Give us your thoughts and prayers against Auburn. And then let's see how the rest of the season plays out.
Love it. I love it. I got two questions. Number one, do you know when the SEC tournament starts?
So the last game is usually like March 5th. I want to say that's Saturday. Let me check. Oh, yeah. March 8th, which I think is a Saturday, right? Is our last regular season game.
Okay.
Um,
Yes, March 8th is a Saturday.
so that following Wednesday, the 12th, is when the SEC tournament will start.
Okay.
And it will be in Nashville, Tennessee this year, which I love Nashville. Have you ever been to Nashville? All American, great town. Anyway, you don't want to be playing on Wednesday. And the way the SEC is looking, if we don't start winning some of these games, we're not going to be in the top 8 because we're already fifth. Technically, we're fifth. One, two, three, four. Technically, we're fifth in the standings right now, which means we don't even get a double bye. You've got to win your games. There you go.
Alrighty. Um, Next question. You kind of touched on it. You said we play really good on defense and we can actually make buckets and get that momentum. Is there anything that the Gators can do? Is there like a key? I know every game's different based on what the other team's doing, but is there a key, maybe offensively and defensively, or just as a whole, that the Gators can do or work on to find more success, specifically in these road games?
Great question. So our team, from what I've noticed, we struggle when another team has three elements. Number one, they have a disruptive defense, meaning they sit their defense in the passing lanes. It's very difficult for us to get things going. And they clog up the lane and prevent us from being able to drive to the basket, forcing us to shoot, which we're good shooters, but we're not like incredible. Number two, they're physical, meaning they can stop us from rebounding. Um, One of our calling cards as a team is when we shoot it and miss it, we just rebound it and put it back and still score. And so, from an offensive efficiency standpoint, we were like a top 10 offense because every possession we're able to get points out of it. It's either we score on the initial shot, miss it, get offensive rebound, score on the second shot, miss that, get another rebound, put it back in. Or we get a rebound, you foul us, and guess what? Now we're shooting free throw. So it's like very difficult to just force us to miss and then get the ball back on a defensive rebound. It's hard to do that against us. When you have a team that can actually do that against us, that's when we struggle because we're not scoring. When you score, you also can set up your defense, meaning the other team has to inbound the ball. And then by the time they inbound the ball, we're set on defense, ready to go. When you're missing and not offensive rebounding, the other team is rebounding. And what are they doing? Boom, down the court. And then what happens is we're like, well, who's your man? I thought you were guarding this guy. Alley-oop dunk. And then we're just sitting there like, okay, guys, we need to score. So against Tennessee, if we're shooting 10% field goals, which is like ridiculous, like who the hell shoots 10% field goals? We were like 2 out of 20. I think that's 10%, right? So you can't make a shot, you can't rebound, you're going to get destroyed. So you got to be able to make your shots. And then number three, another team that can hit their field goals, high rate field goal shooting team, just a good shooting team. Tennessee is not a good field goal shooting team, uh, but they earn they earn their dollar by playing great defense and completely stopping you from scoring, and they just end up with more points than you. So I don't see that many teams left on our schedule um, that are similar defensively to Tennessee. But what I do see is um, teams that can shoot the ball really well. So Auburn, why is Auburn so good? Well, when they shoot the ball and they're wide open, guess what? It goes in. Like that. I mean, that's just as simple as that. Like Miles Kelly, Denver Jones, what's the guy's name? Pettigrew, whatever the guy's name is. Chad Baker Mazzara. We call him Chad Bacon Lasagna. When this guy's wide open and he shoots it, it goes in. So they're scoring. Then they have Janai Broome, who's the best center in the nation. So you just throw him the ball, and guess what? He's just going to bully ball his way to, and it's an automatic score. And if he doesn't score, you foul him. If he misses it, he gets the rebound. If you're 7'3" and he can't score on you, you double team him. He throws it to somebody who's wide open, and guess what? When they're wide open and they shoot it, they make it. So us, when we're wide open, we shoot it 50% of the time it goes in, So that's why they're so good, and they're very, very deep too. They play like 9 or 10 guys. Alabama is a similar team. They're not as great defensively, but they're not as great defensively because they just try to outscore you. And they rush you and they make you panic. And when they did lose to Ole Miss was a team that didn't panic. They just stayed calm the whole game, ran their offense, and grinded it out. So I just kind of think if we show up ready to play every single game and give it 100%, we can go 7-3, 8-2. We do play, I think we play, what is this, like 6 more home games? So, and 6 more road games. So we can at least win our 6 home games. Those road games, man, those are going to be the difficult ones. I know we play 5 road games. Yeah, 5 more road games. So let's see what happens. And we act like when we get off the plane, I don't know if it's like Rocky Top, the elevation on Rocky Top messes with our depth perception. We couldn't make a shot. I'm like, guys, when you shoot the ball in Gainesville, it goes in. But now you go to Rocky Top and you can't make a shot. So who knows?
The Tennessee dome, by the way, is awesome, dude. It's so big. The stadium they play in, it's so steep. I love it, man. It's one of my favorite college basketball stadiums, man. It's awesome.
It is huge. And maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like we're not used to having this big, because the depth perception does get off a little bit. And then when you go to the NCAA tournament, they play these games in football stadiums. Like, so they'll put things in a football stadium so they can fit way more people in there. And then like half of it is the basketball court. And so then your depth perception is off, just like the Tennessee stadium, because it's so big. And so I'm kind of like, well, maybe that's it. Like Duke, and then our stadium, maybe Duke even more. If you watch a Duke game, you're like literally right on the students, right?
Right.
And so the depth perception is a little bit different than at Tennessee, where everything is like way back. So
like through a
it's
fisheye lens. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, hopefully the Gators get on track. Like you said, those away games are going to be, I think, the key. So I'll definitely start watching more of them, man, especially the games on Saturday, since obviously college football is no longer here. R.I.P. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
All right. Well.
Oh, and can we also mention our head coach has been exonerated, everyone.
About
okay.
time.
Yay. We're happy. Free Golden. So I'm sure more of this story will come out where, he was alleged to have done all these crazy things. But at the end of the day, what the hell? So was it a bot? Like, who accused this guy of doing this stuff?
What the hell? Yeah.
So it's like, if you make all these accusations, he's sending me messages, he's stalking me, he's doing the boo. Guys, You don't have one picture. You don't have one screenshot. You don't have one shred of evidence. So to me, it's libel, defamation of character. There's so many people on the internet. This guy's a pervert. They should all be sued. And he's got some really good lawyers because they must have called up all the networks and said, hey, there's an active investigation. You better not mention anything other than the facts. And let me tell you something. The alligator, trash. Who are these people? They're the ones that published the story. Now, some people are going to say, well, they published just the what was known, right? So it's journalism. They published the facts. Actually, no. If somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, this guy was stalking me," the onus is on you to, as a responsible journalist, to validate the legitimacy of the claim as well as the legitimacy of whether or not it's actually a thing. And if they would have took 10 seconds to say, well, okay, it's an active investigation, no evidence so far, we can report it, but we have to really be clear in there is no evidence. It's a nothing burger. Because when they reported it, it went viral and now everybody's on the internet saying he's something he's not. So the alligator, who the hell's running the alligator? Do we need to investigate them? So for everyone who's getting into journalism, remember, if somebody brings you a story, you need to research and validate the sources and the current status before you go out there and just start saying that it is what it is. Because now you lose legitimacy and now you lose credibility and people aren't going to believe what the hell you're saying and you might as well be a tabloid. So that's all I have to say about that.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Everyone wants to be first. And because all it takes is that one story for them to blow up. And that's what they're shooting for. But then you have situations like this where you get where you just look like an idiot and you lose a lot of validation. So yeah, insane. But he's good. Poor guy has a wife and kids, man, and they try to just screw up his whole image. So glad he beat that. All right, well, let's get into it, man. Me and EJ let me go ahead and actually record this. Me and EJ made our way to early top 25 lists for the 2025 to 2026 college football season, baby. We're going to dive into this. So what I have is I have graphics for our top 10, and then I have the Word documents that go through number 25 to number 11. So I'm going to switch to this, and you guys are going to see our top, from top 20, from 25 to number 11. EJ, let's start with yours first, man. Let's go ahead and dive into it. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. We're starting it off strong. EJ, if you want to kind of go through each one, starting with your 25, and we can just kind of talk about it. I also have in the Word document, as you can see, your little captions you wrote for each one, which is awesome. I love it. So if you just kind of want to go through each one, man, we'll chat it up.
Thanks. Yeah, so this is I'll go through this relatively quickly because I want to spend most of the time on the top 10. But I kind of just looked at returners and what made the team special this year and whether or not they're going to be able to return more of that secret sauce next year and then complement it with good returning players, players that stepped up, etc. I gave a lot of weight to quarterbacks who are returning to your team for a little bit of continuity. And this, that, and the other. So 25, I got Ole Miss. A lot of people are going to be like, oh, they should be higher than that. They were so good last year. Yeah, but they lost a couple games that they shouldn't have lost. They were the heavy favorites. I really thought Ole Miss was as good as Texas, but for some reason you lost to Kentucky and you got beat by Florida. So you can't lose those games. They do return Austin Simmons, a quarterback who is really, really good. Caden Lee is a really good wide receiver. And they return a couple of guys on the defensive side of the ball that I really liked. Perkins, I can't ever Suntarian. I think his name is Suntarian Perkins. He's really, really good. And Harris on the D line. You got Lane Kiffin at OC, so you're going to be really good. Navy, I have them at number 24. You return your starting quarterback. I mean, Navy, who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought? They run the ball. They're physical. Didn't they beat Oklahoma? So this is a team that can hang in there with the best of the best. And everybody said, well, Oklahoma's trash. Oklahoma has the 7th, and you look at the recruiting rank, the star ratings of everybody on the roster. They have a top 10 roster, and they couldn't even beat an Navy. So Horvath, really good. And then they return these 2 backs where they run that triple option. Navy, you're in there. SMU, I think this is probably a good place for them. They're still a top 25 team, in my opinion. Jennings, you return him. That's all you need, really, to be a really solid little team. And you return pretty much the core of your offensive line. So you should have a really good offense. I'd be interested to see defensively if they can hold up. Davis Robinson, their starting corner, is back. So I like them. Indiana. Now, you're losing your quarterback, but you still got our man, a head coach. Wait, what's the guy's name?
Kurt Signetti.
Oh, yeah. That's Logan's guy.
My guy.
Kirk Signetti. He put all his eggs in the Kirk Signetti basket. We'll see what happens. If Indiana goes crazy in the portal and brings some guys in, hey, maybe they'll actually be good.
I like their quarterback. They got Fernando oh my God, what's his last name? I don't know. The guy that came in from Cal.
Oh, yeah.
A really good transfer quarterback. I think a guy that is going to work really well under this Kurt Signetti offense. I have Indiana. I'll talk about him as well once I do mine. But yeah, that's a really good quarterback. I think that's going to be Signetti's style. I feel like there's another team that does the same thing where they get a new quarterback every year. I feel like there is one. I'm not thinking. But I feel like that's
Dame.
There you go. Notre Dame, exactly. Both in 2 Indiana teams. And I feel like Indiana is going to be that team where they bring in a new quarterback every year. I really like Fernando. Once again, can't remember his last name. I think he's going to fit in well. Very tough quarterback, very athletic. It's going to be fun to see. So I like that placement.
Sweet. And then I'll just do my number 21, and I'll let you do your 25 or do you want me to just keep going?
You could just do you could do your bottom 20. I'll do my bottom 20. I like that.
All right. So I got Baylor at number 21. Baylor, what the hell happened in the bowl game? I picked you as an upset. LSU, they lost. They didn't half the players didn't play, and so anyway, my main man, head coach. Wait, I keep
for
my
Baylor.
brain. Yes.
The bald guy.
Yeah. LSU. He's the coach at LSU.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh Jesus. All right. I'll look that up. Good.
Yes, you guys can instant chat us and tell us who this guy is. Anyway, Sawyer Robertson,
Dave
your quarterback. Dave Aranda. Okay, Dave Aranda. We need a defense. Okay, you're bringing in some guys. You got to be able to stop somebody. If you can do that, I have faith in this offense because you're returning your whole offensive line, your quarterback, your running back, and your leading receiver. You should be able to do something. So Baylor, do something. Kansas State, hey, Avery Johnson. I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of him. Dylan Edwards. Everybody remembers that name. I really like Kansas State's backfield. So I think Kansas State will probably have one of the better offenses in the Big 12. Let's see if they can stop anyone. Number 19, going in well into the top 20. Boise. Hey, you're returning Maddox Matson. That's like one of the best names I've ever seen. Mad Max. We just call him Mad Max. He's a great quarterback. Then I don't think you're returning your running back, which is kind of iffy for me, for you, but with the Heisman candidate.
They did have a
But
big time transfer with that one running back.
ooh,
There was
I didn't
a
put him in here.
yeah, no, you're good. There was a bit there was a starting running back from a Big 12 team that moved over to Boise State. I can't remember who it was, but a guy that got a lot of carries. So I think they'll be okay in that running back room.
Well, and usually what as it goes when you have like Ashton Genty, who's a great running back, good running backs want to come to you because you made him so good and he was a featured back, so that makes sense. And then get a good running back, Boise. Maybe this is your second year in a row in the playoffs. Okay, guys, how the hell is Boise making the playoffs every year and we can't even make it one year? Anyway, Texas A&M, Aggies. I got you at number 18. Marcel Reed's going to be the starter. He's pretty good. Le'Veon Moss is your running back. He can run people over. You're returning your whole offensive line. So I think Texas A&M is a really good team. It's just very difficult with the schedule that they play and the fact that the SEC, everyone's going to get fired if you don't win every game, and but everyone wants to win every game, so someone's going to lose. So I think A&M has a really good chance this will be the second year for their coach. Miami. Okay, I didn't put the I should have put in here the quarterback Carson Beck's, who's going to be transferring to Miami. Miami's one of the few teams that knows who their returner is going to be. Now you did lose my main man Restrepo out of the wide receiver. He was really good. But you did lose Martinez, the running back from Oregon State, who, by the way, was running all over us when we went to the Vegas Bowl. So guess what? If you look at the final score of Martinez versus the Gators, it was 71-20. When you add up the scores, they killed us. So how the hell Martinez was running all over us? Anyway, I still don't put Miami higher than this, even though they got Carson Beck's, just because I'm kind of like, they're going to find a way to lose something. BYU, you're impressed. Coach Prime, I'm repping Coach Prime. BYU, you destroyed Colorado.
Insane.
I really like Retzlaff, and I really like your coach. Physical, hard hitting team. I think BYU should be the favorite in the Big 12 this year to win it. So let's see if that happens. Illinois, I got you at number 15. You guys impressed me with the South Carolina. I wouldn't have even had you up here if it wasn't for the South Carolina bowl game. But Luke Altmaier and your whole offensive line apparently is coming back. So you also got these defensive guys that were leading in, I didn't put the categories that they led in, but like one's in tackles, one's in interceptions, and another one is like something else. So you return all these guys and you beat South Carolina. Hey. Y'all remember that? The coach, the Illinois coach, taunting. There you go. Injury. If you guys do that, Brett Bielema. If you guys just fake the injuries the whole season, maybe you will win the Big Ten. We'll see. Tennessee. You weren't the only 10 I see. Now listen. I got to see more out of Nico before I put you higher than this. People are going to say, well, Tennessee should be top 10. This is what their fans are going to say. We should be top 10. Why are we not top 10? Well, Nico wasn't as great as y'all thought he was going to be.
He's not even good.
One. I mean, I've seen worse, but they're talking about him like he was going to be who's the one guy uh
Like a Hendon Hooker from 2019 or 2021, whatever it was.
Tua. Yeah.
There
So
you go.
I was with a Tennessee fan. I said, "Yeah. How's that Nico? Can you say his last name?" They said, "No, cuz we just say Nico." So they can't even pronounce his name in Imaliava. They can't even say that in Tennessee apparently. So now he was saying, "Yeah, he's going to just be like Tua. No one can say Tago Viola. So Nico Tua. That's who he is." I was like, "So you're saying he's going to be as good as Tua?" "Yeah, he's going to be better than Tua because he can run." So I said, "Okay, we'll see what happens, dude." Nico, it started off good. You clobbered NC State. Couldn't do anything after that. Now here's the deal: you did win 10 games, but you won 10 games because your defense stopped people and you didn't play any good offenses. We should have won that game. So Alabama imploded. So I really like Tennessee. Let's see what they can do. I think they're going to be a good team every year. Let's see what happens. South Kakalaki, right on the edge. I got you of the playoff.
Beamer ball.
Beamer ball is back, baby. Now, South Carolina, I would have had you top 10, but the way you dropped the game to Illinois, what were you thinking? Lenora Sellers, you shouldn't have been it. You only scored like 21 points that game. I really like South Carolina's offense. I think they can be very difficult to get off the field. Couple that with Beamer ball. I don't think they're going to have a really good defense for some. Their defense does have a tendency to swarm you when they get momentum, but if you can get them on their heels, they're not a defense that's really going to, stuff you.
Well, also
So
they lost a lot of guys on the line as well, on the defensive
yeah,
line.
they lost. Yes, they lost a lot of guys on the offensive line. So Lenora Sellers is going to have to Superman his way through the season. Let's see if that works. Last two, the Tide. Now listen, Tide, who's going to be your quarterback? Alabama's another team that I think is probably going to try to portal quarterback. I don't even know who's in the portal. So, DeBoer, Alabama fans aren't too happy, my friend. I still got you at number 12 because y'all are going to have the most talented roster, technically. Ryan Williams. You got just go deep. So I got Alabama up there. I'm really interested to see who they bring in at quarterback. DeBoer inherited what's the guy's name? I always forget these people's names. The quarterback. Milroe.
Yeah.
You inherited Milroe. You didn't use him properly. Milroe shouldn't be throwing the ball more than 15 times a game, DeBoer. Run him. Do like a TJ, whatever that guy's name is, Vince Young. You didn't do it. You lost. It is what it is. You still have very good talent. I got you at number 12. Number 11. This team's going to be familiar, Alabama. Alabama. This team's going to be real familiar. Michigan. The Wolverines. I got you at number 11. Now listen. You lost some players. Your quarterback got hurt in the Alabama game. Who knows if he's going to be back? But I love this Michigan. I put you up here because of your defense alone. I don't know what it is, but it's like when Michigan plays defense, no one can do anything. You can't run, you can't throw, you can't scramble, you can't catch, you fumble. Alabama had a sequence where they ran 4 plays, they had 4 turnovers. I was like, I've never seen anything like this. Is it the rain? And the guy was like, well, if it keeps raining like this for the rest of the game, I don't know how Alabama's going to do it. I'm like, it's Florida, dude. It rains for like 10 seconds and then it's going to look like a resort. It's going to be like so sunny. You're not going to see one cloud.
I was at the gym and it was pouring down rain on the TV, and then I literally go do like an arm workout, like 3 sets, come back. It is so sunny. It looks like the Bahamas.
This is Florida. Like these clouds, it's like torrential downpour, and then 5 minutes later, it's a beautiful day again. That's how you stay nice and moisturized. Anyway, Michigan, you got a great defense. That alone is why I have you up here. Shamar Moore, you need an offense. Open up the playbook. Now I get it. You were coached by Harbaugh. He's hard nosed, under center, handoff, power football. Maybe that's what you do, but at the end of the day, I got you up here because you beat Ohio State. Who's got more impressive wins than Michigan the last 2 games? You beat the national champs, and then you beat Alabama, who top 5 team or program. So Michigan, just outside the top 10. Got you at number 11.
I like it. I like it. Let's go see how this is going to differ with my 25 to number 11. I have some bubble teams on here. I got Washington, Boise State, Duke, and Minnesota. Also, EJ, everyone watching this, I encourage you to go and try to make a top 25. It is so tough. There's so many teams that I left out where I was like, oh my God, I want these teams being here, but then I got this one, and then new teams kept jumping at me. It was not easy, man. So these 4 teams, Washington, I like Washington because they have a young quarterback that I love. I think this is a future Heisman winner type of guy. I watched his bowl game, which he played really well in a little bit throughout the season. He's athletic. The way his ball comes out of his hands is smooth. I really, really enjoy his style of play there at Washington. And, Fish, the offensive or the head coach, really good coach. I actually wanted him to come to Florida if we did fire Billy Napier. And first season, it's a rebuild season, obviously, at Washington. Kalen DeBoer leaving to go to Alabama. But yeah, really, I don't want to spend too much time on him. Really enjoy Washington. Think they're going to be a pretty good team this year with that young quarterback in this system. Boise State, EJ kind of said everything that needs to be said with them. Losing Ashton Genty, which is the heart of your offense, but you do still have Madsen, I believe is the quarterback's name back there, a quarterback that can manage and do well. They have a couple really good transfers in this class, especially in the running back position. I don't think they're going to, you're obviously going to see a major drop-off, but they're still going to be a really good rushing attack type of team. Going to be fun to see what they do there in their conference, the Mountain West. Then we have Duke, a team that, listen, they went 9-3 this past year. Or 9-4, I think, because they lost against Ole Miss in the bowl game and the Gator Bowl. They didn't look great, but look, Duke's having a transfer at quarterback. They have I think Tulane quarterback coming in. That's a great fit there. Dude's a really good quarterback. They're not going to take a step back. If anything, they're going to take a step forward. I think they're a big contender in the ACC. They also have some guys that left Duke in the transfer portal. That's why I don't have them too high. Next one we have is Minnesota. I've talked so highly of Minnesota. I really like this Minnesota team. Some returning guys there. They do have a lot of guys leaving, though. But defensively, they're young. I like their defense. That's why I have them on the bubble as well. Number 25, as we get into the top 25, I have Auburn. Look, you got Jackson Arnold coming in, and the quarterback from Oklahoma. Did not have a couple of good games, but did finish the year kind of strong for Oklahoma. A very highly talented guy, just needs to find his footing, and I think this Hugh Freeze offensive system is a good fit for him. I think he's the type of quarterback that you can't just throw him into a system and he's going to be good. I think he needs a system that works for him. I think you're going to see that at Auburn. Also, Hugh Freeze on the hot seat, right? Auburn fans are pissed. They want to have a good season. It's been rough under Hugh Freeze. He needs to have a good season. I think they're going to have a good season. I think you're going to see a really good, a very physical team. I think Auburn's going to be that team that you don't want to play because they can beat anybody. I think that's going to be the type of team Auburn's going to be. But they'll still go like 8-4. Next one we have is Texas Tech, a team that I really, really like. Their offensive powerhouse, man. They love to throw the that offense, that the legend, I cannot even think of his name, the coach that passed away, man. That coach at Mississippi State. I'm just blanking. Oh man. Yeah, you're muted right now, EJ. I can't remember. Oh, that's terrible. Anyways, invented the air raid, really, made it a big thing, and I guess Spurrier probably
Mike
invents it.
Leach, sorry.
Mike Leach, there you go, the pirate. Yeah, he still has his footprint here, and you see that air raid style. Love it. Great portal class, a sneaky kind of like top 10 portal class for Texas Tech. Brought in a lot of really good players at the wide receiver position. They're going to be scary offensively again this year. Number 23, I have Georgia Tech because of their returning quarterback and a lot of other players as well. I was very surprised to see their quarterback come back. That's one thing, EJ, we haven't really talked about. Obviously, there's a lot of players moving all around, but you're seeing a lot of players stay in college football because they can make more money than a rookie contract. And so you're seeing a lot of teams, have a lot of returnees here, and one of those teams is Georgia Tech. So very excited to see them because they have a lot of returning quarterbacks, or because they have a lot of returning players. They're going to be kind of that same sneaky, very physical team that they were this past year. Number 22, I have Michigan. Oh. I do like their defense a lot, EJ, but I'm worried about their offense. They have a true freshman quarterback coming in. I know everyone's very excited about him, but he's a true freshman quarterback. So who are you going to have now at this quarterback position? Because Orji is not going to do shit. He is not a good quarterback. He's like Milroe, but a worse passer somehow. You're gonna have to get this freshman incorporated early on, kind of maybe like a Dylan Raiola season, right, where he's okay, has big moments, but has a lot to learn and develop on. I think that's gonna be Michigan. I think next year, not this year, this upcoming season, but the next season is gonna be Michigan's year getting to make a big run. So we'll see what happens there. They're just not ready yet. Number 21, BYU, because of their returning unit that they have. Like you talked about, they got a lot of guys coming back. They don't have a shit ton of competition in the Big 12. So I expect them to make a big time run over there and play some good football. They didn't lose a lot of guys, so I don't know how they would take a step back really. I see them having another 10-win season. And being that team that people point to and go, oh, they're pretty good. I like them. Next one we have South Carolina at number 20. I really, really like the South Carolina offense, like you were talking about. I think Lenore Sellers is a Heisman contender for next year, which we'll obviously make a list for our Heisman watch list later on. I might even do it. I think maybe after the spring games would be fun, just so we can kind of see some of these players play. But yeah, when it comes to Lenore Sellers, man, one of the most naturally talented guys that we have in college football and in the sport and football in general. I watched that bowl. Was it the bowl game or it was the Clemson game? This dude broke like 8 tackles. He looked like Jordan Travis against us and Doe Campbell a couple years ago. This dude he looked like a running back there, man. But he moves just so quick. I'm just worried about their defense, right? Their defensive line. They lost a lot of guys. We'll see what they're like on defense, but they had a really good portal class. So we'll see what they can do there in putting these pieces in this big puzzle. Next one we have number 19, Ole Miss. I agree with you, EJ. A lot of unknown with this team. Austin Simmons, a guy that, he has that baseball type throw where that ball's coming at you 95 miles an hour, which is good but also not great because can he make a touch on these footballs down the field and fit him in these tight windows, or is he going to bullet the pass and then have it picked off, from a underneath defender, right? So he just has to figure out how to put touch on the ball, something that Richardson also struggled with when he was here at the University of Florida. So I do think he's very talented. I do really like this Ole Miss team, but I think they're going to kind of be that typical, lane team where they're like, 15-10 maybe they might finish this season. There's a lot of unknown with them that I'm not totally sure on yet. So that's why they're at number 19. Number 18, I have Iowa State, a team that's also going to return a lot of guys, a team that looked really, really good against Miami. Okay. Becht is coming back at quarterback. They got a lot of guys coming back at receiver. That was just an absolute shootout against Miami. I think it was the Cheez-It Bowl. And I think it was 28-28 at halftime. No defense.
Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tart. There you go. So I am very Excited to see this Iowa State team. I don't see them taking a step back. And when you have a coach like Matt Campbell, he's going to have his team ready to go. And I think they're going to get some momentum here coming into this new season, a team to watch.
Good pick. Good pick.
Yep. Next one we have, it's just the reason I don't have them too much higher is because of talent, right? I mean, they can't compare to some of these other teams. Next one we have is number 17, Indiana. Kind of everything that you said. Kurt Cignetti knows how to, create a team. Look at Indiana this year. Their 2 losses came to Ohio State, and what was the other one?
In the playoff.
Notre Dame. Yeah, exactly. So like the 2 teams that were in the national championship. So it's like, I mean, hey, he knows how to build a football team.
And they beat Michigan.
They looked really good in that game, man. Listen, they have some good returning players. My thing is Fernando Mesca, whatever his name is he going to, at the quarterback position, fit into the system? I think he will. But it's obviously a big jump from playing over there at Cal to coming over here into the Big Ten. Yeah. He's going to be playing a lot more competition on a consistent basis. They also, I think, go to Penn State this season. So they do have a tougher schedule. Indiana does this year. So I don't think they're going to go 11-1 in the regular season again, but I do think that they're going to be a good football team that you're not really going to want to play in the Big Ten. Next one we have is Kansas State. I really like this Kansas State team. Like we were talking about Avery Johnson, some really good guys in the backfield here for this Kansas State team. Just based off of their returning talent in general, I think they're going to be a team that is, once again, that you're not really going to want to play. By the way, Big 12 looks scary again this season, man. They're just stacked. They were probably the most fun conference to watch this past season, and now you're going to see them do the same thing again. Cannot wait to see Kansas State and see what they can bring to the table. I only see them taking a step forward. Next one we have is Alabama at number 15. EJ, like you said, they either got to go get a quarterback in the portal, or there's a lot of talks that they like what they have in their room already at the moment, but names that I've never heard of. So I'm not set on that. I don't like it. I do trust Kalen DeBoer to have a good offense, but we don't know who the hell their quarterback's going to be, and because of that, I have them at 15. Is Alabama going to get back to that powerhouse team that Alabama is the big question. I don't think so this year. Next one we have is number 14 in Miami. Look, I like this Miami team. They have a lot of talent, but you got Carson Beck at quarterback. I think Carson Beck is not a guy that can win a national championship at quarterback. I don't think he's a guy that can really consistently win in the playoff at quarterback. I think he's a game manager guy back there. And look, when you look at Miami, a team that is probably going to be worse than they were last year, right? If you take Cam Ward and put Carson Beck in, they have 4 losses. They do. Cam Ward by himself had how many game-winning? I think 3 game-winning drives. Literally 3 game-winning drives this past season. So I think you have to, you got to appreciate that and see that as a variable. So yeah, I got Carson Beck being an okay quarterback, but I think they're going to play in a tough ACC, really tough ACC conference actually this year. I think they're going to be sneaky. We'll see what happens with them. Number 13, I have Louisville. The reason I have Louisville so high is because they have Miller Moss at quarterback, the USC transfer, who I love. I love him at quarterback. He's going to be in a Josh Braun offensive scheme, who's the head coach for Louisville, who loves to throw the football. He's a very aggressive offensive play caller and offensive scheme guy. I think they're going to be probably, in my opinion, one of the most fun teams to watch this year. The big question about Louisville, and it happened this year, is can they play good on defense enough to where they give their offense time to just they played a lot of catch-up ball this year, right? Can you let your offense just kind of do their thing and stay within their system and within their scheme, and let them do their thing? That's going to be the big question. They are kind of high. I know people are like, why the hell is Louisville at number 13? But like I said, in the ACC, they're going to be competitive this year, and I think Louisville is going to be I wanted one team that's going to shock a lot of people. I think Louisville is going to be that football team with Miller Moss at the helm.
Okay, all right.
Next one we have is number 12, Texas A&M. Everything that you talked about, EJ, I think they're a very good football team, man. You have a lot of returning guys, even I can't even think of his name at the quarterback position. A guy that's Marcel. There you go, Marcel Reed, a guy that is very athletic, can extend plays, and all they did was add to their roster this season. with that talent and this recruiting class and all that. And I really, really like their head coach. And I'm excited to see what they do this year. Texas A&M is a team that wants to win the national championship every single year. So they're going to come in, firing on all cylinders. I just don't like Marcel Reed because I think he's very, very limited as a quarterback. If you can stop him running the football, can he drop back and pass the ball consistently? Whoever their offensive coordinator is, which I don't know. Oh, it's oh my God, it's isn't it the old Arkansas offensive coordinator, or is he at Arkansas right now? Oh my God, I don't know who the offensive coordinator is for Texas A&M. But look, you're going to have to do what I kind of talked about what Billy Napier has to do. Make it easy for Marcel Reed. Dumb down the game. Get it to your playmakers on the outside. You have a good running back room. Give them the ball. Find some consistency in the run game. And then, of course, rely on that 12th man, which Texas A&M does so well. It's actually very symbolic how I have them at number 12. Number 11, I have a team that you were really big on, EJ. You kind of talked about Illinois. Surprised us all. Hey, in the bowl game. They are a little high. I looking at it, I should have brought them down a little bit. But look, they're returning, like you said, their entire offensive line. They're returning their quarterback. Yeah, look, man, I think they can make a little run in the Big Ten. I think with how beat up Indiana's going to be with this schedule, I think they're going to be above Indiana, and I think it's going to be them in Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, kind of up there at that top point. So yeah, I'm very excited to see Illinois this season. I think Brett Bielema is a really good coach who knows how to build a program, and I think if they can just keep up this consistency, we'll see what happens. Another team that I'm kind of taking a risk on here. I'm putting them that high, but I think that they're a very good football team when it comes to when everything's said and done. So that's kind of my 25 to number 11. EJ, you ready to dive into this top 10?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. All right, so we're going to start with EJ's top 10 first. Here it is. It's on your screen right now, everyone. EJ, I like it. Let's go through it. Start at number 10, work your way up. Let's hear your thoughts, man.
Well, we're a Gator podcast, so people are going to be like, you guys are homers. You put Florida in the top 10. They're not even ranked. People, On3 came out and said we were number 8. Okay, so we're just going off of what we know. And if you were to look at the last 4 games, this is the thing. 4 games is a quarter of the season. When you look at the last quarter of the season, the fourth quarter of the season, we were probably top 5 the way we were playing. I mean, should have beat Georgia. Yeah, Texas hammered us. But you beat 2 straight ranked teams. You hammer your rival when we were all not even playing that great. And then we played Tulane and we beat them really good. So we had to be one of the top 10 from a statistical standpoint team in the nation. So you're bringing back DJ Lagway and Jaden Baugh and Jacoby Jackson, and then I think we got another running back there that's going to start running over people. Who's the guy that was injured? Number 5.
Webb, Treyon Webb.
Treyon Webb.
By the way, I also have Florida at number 10, so we could talk about it together.
Oh, great. So then the defensive line, we got great players coming back. Tyreek Sapp and Caleb Banks. We're going to sack you. And then you can't sack us because we got Jake Slaughterhouse. So the only thing that I'm a little bit worried about is obviously the schedule. If we had an easier schedule like Tennessee, maybe we would win 10 games. But no, we have to play Miami, USF, which is better than some of these little Samford teams that we normally play. Who's the other team we got to play? Texas. We got to play the whole state of Texas.
It's insane. Yeah.
Ole Miss, LSU, Georgia. Maybe FSU's better. Who knows? Tennessee. We play Tennessee at the end of the year. Why'd they come up with that? Who knows? It's a
Terrible.
crazy year. So I got us at number 10. If I'm a betting man, I'd probably say we start off in the AP around number 20 because people are going to say, well, yeah, we probably would rank them up there, but, we got to see if they can win some games and then we'll figure out where we want to rank them. So I kind of feel like if we actually win some of these early games, they'll catapult us up to the top 10. But relative to how all the other teams behind us looked at the end of the year, to us, and based on what we have coming back, we're number 10.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you got to throw Florida in the top 10 based on the potential alone. I mean, you have one of the best quarterbacks in the country and one of the best running back groups in the country. And I think when you look at that, and honestly, maybe one of the sneaky best wide receiver groups in the country. If Trey Wilson can stay healthy, you got a lot of these young guys coming in. You also have Aiden Mizell. Hopefully, you can put some more weight on and be less injury prone. And dude, we're gonna be. When you look at that wide receiver group, that's going to be scary. You got a lot of returning. Our best offensive linemen are coming back. Defensively, like you stated, a lot of young, big, standout guys last year are going to be coming back. We have Gums, right, coming back as well. Sap, Banks is coming. Like, we have a lot of really good. We have Grayson Howard, a guy that got hurt, right? Pup Howard's coming back. We have a lot of returnees, man, and this is a Florida team that's experienced, a Florida team that is tired of all the hate. They have momentum at the end of the season. And when you look at momentum at the end of a year, that really affects that next season, man. And I think, especially with returnees, and I think we have a chip on our shoulder. So I really like that number 10 spot, and that's why I have them at number 10 as well.
Nice.
All right, EJ, number 9. Let's hear it.
All right, so going to number 9, Clem Weezy. I got the Clemson Tigers at number 9. Dabo Sweeney, you haven't lost your touch too much. You still got a really talented team. Cade Klubnik coming back thanks to NIL. Now here's the deal. He's been there since Trevor Lawrence. He's been there since Trevor Lawrence left, right? Like, he's been there for 10 damn years.
Forever, dude.
Cade Klubnik. This is your year. You can't be dink and dunk Cabe anymore. You gotta be able to go deep and hit the deep ball. That's what Clemson fans want to see. They want to see you go up top. Antonio Williams, good wide receiver that I noticed. You got some good linebackers coming back. And guess what? You won the ACC. You made the playoff. You shouldn't be losing to these Louisville teams. Well, maybe this year. But you shouldn't be losing. I got Clemson at number 9. Top 10. There you go.
I like it. Also, I just want to say, I did not have Tennessee in my top 25. They definitely are a top 25 team. That's my bad.
I was gonna say.
They're for me probably around like I would have them around like maybe 18, 17, around there. I just don't like Nico. And what reminded me of that was the deep ball, right? What Tennessee's offense is built around, Josh Heupel's system is hitting the deep ball. Nico cannot do that to save his life. Literally cannot do it to save his life. And that's also the issue. Maybe if he's in a better system, he's very talented, he can be better. But same thing goes for Klubnik, right? I mean, you're in an offensive system under the offensive coordinator who came from TCU and won the national championship there, right? And now that he's at Clemson, what did Max Duggan do at TCU that made them dangerous? Explosive plays. His offense is built around explosive plays. They did get better later in the year with that, but I totally agree. Klubnik has to just get more consistent on hitting these down passes.
Love it. Yeah, and I was going to say, Logan, where's Tennessee? I was going to say it to the end, though. You picked it up. Arizona State. I got you at number 8. Man, did you impress me? Now here's the deal. Scatterboo's gone. Let me tell you, that guy's gonna put him on your fantasy team. That guy's incredible. But hey, look, I love your coach, and I like Sam Levitt, the quarterback, and you had a great uh, offensive firepower. Scatterboo was a lot of that, but I'm trusting Sam Levitt to really come on strong. Your defense was actually pretty good. I think you're going to battle BYU for the Big 12. So Arizona State, number 8.
I love it.
Okay, I'm going to keep going.
Yep, keep going.
LSU. LSU. I got you number 7. Now listen. Some people say, well, why you got LSU number 7 and not the Gators? The Gators should be higher than them. Yeah, true. But listen, LSU's got a little easier schedule. Okay, they play a bunch of cupcakes, so they should be able to win more games. And I like Brian Kelly. His family is moving to Baton Rouge. My family's in Baton Rouge. Garrett Nussmeier. I think Garrett Nussmeier has probably capped out in terms of how good he can be. I'm expecting other players on LSU to step up. You got Jack Pyburn now on your team, so you're going to be sacking everybody apparently, and he's going to play every third down. He's mandatory in every third down. I'm trusting LSU to have a breakout year. Now listen, I don't think they're going to have a breakout year against us because it's going to be 50-50 when we go down there. But I do expect LSU to beat everybody else because guess what, LSU? Alabama's not big bad Nick Saban anymore. They ran you over last year, 42-13. How the hell did you lose 42-13? You did beat Ole Miss in the comeback. You beat South Carolina. I still think that was a penalty. So I know South Carolina fans, it's not a penalty. It wasn't a blindside block.
Does LSU even play Georgia this year? I'm going to look up their schedule because if not, that's huge.
No, I think we all play the same exact teams we played this year.
Mm.
So, except it's reversed, like road home. So, LSU, you got a chance. Don't let me down. The Tigers. And one thing that people don't know is the Tiger is the most aggressive animal in the wild. Okay? A lot of people think it's the lion. No, the tiger will rip you to freaking shreds. That is what we need to see from LSU. If not, we're going to call you the LSU Lions. Like Detroit, you just lose when it's time for you to actually win. You're going to need to change your mascot to the Lions if you're not aggressive enough. You got to earn that tiger. LSU. All right, number 6. Now, I don't know who's your quarterback going to be, but you got enough talent. You stacked it up to where Oregon is number 6. Evan Stewart and your 2 defensive ends. Incredible. Now, I am going to speculate a little bit as to whether or not you can keep this going because you do play in the Big Ten, a bunch of teams that are going to have to adapt to the fact that Oregon's in our conference now. Because the Big Ten, slow, hog molly, Wisconsin, hand the ball off, make cheese on the offensive line. But now that Oregon's in there, it's kind of like Steve Spurrier. When Steve Spurrier came to the SEC, fun and gun. Oh, crap. Now we actually have to play defense. We got to recruit. We got to stop these. We got to recruit to stop this one team. The Big Ten has Oregon and Ohio State now. So guess what? Evolution of the Big Ten? We don't know. Big Ten has won 2 straight titles. Oregon, you're not one of them. Maybe this year you change. But I got Oregon, number 6. Okay, are we gonna do 10 through 6 and then we both do top 5?
I'm down. Let me let me get mine up. This is so interesting, man. I love it. Alrighty, mine's on the screen. Actually, literally all the same teams just changed around. It's great. So yeah, number 10, I have Florida. Already talked about that. Number 9 for me is LSU. I think LSU and Florida are very neck and neck for me, kind of like you stated, right? People are going to be mad that LSU's above Florida, whatever. But I think you got to look at LSU in the sense of they're more reliable, right? They have a veteran quarterback in Nussmeier, a guy that I actually really respect based on the fact that he's been at LSU for 5 years now, is not transferred. So you got to really respect that from him. A true Tiger. It's rare nowadays. You got to give him respect. A good quarterback. He's a good quarterback. Is he going to win Heisman? No. People have him on the Heisman watch list already. I think that's kind of crazy, but I do think he's going to do a really good job. Like you said, some good pieces on that wide receiver group coming back for him. Is it Caden Durham? Their running back position coming back. Their starting running back. That is a good running back. And yeah, some great pieces in the transfer portal they gained in the for the defensive side of the ball. So I think they're going to be. It's that typical Brian Kelly team, right? Top 15, top 10. Are they going to the national championship? No. But are they going to, take advantage of they don't have an easy schedule this year, but an easier schedule than usual? I think they will, and I think they have a chance. I mean, when you really look at it, unless I guess Texas has to fall apart, but they can make the SEC championship if all the pieces kind of align right for them. So I think LSU is a very talented team. I think that's why you got to put them up there. Number 8 for me is Arizona State. For all the reasons you said, Arizona State, they're in. It's not like they're playing an SEC schedule every single week. Now they are playing in the Big 12 teams, like we talked about with Kansas State, Iowa State, BYU, 3 really, really good teams, top 20 teams, top 25 teams that are dangerous. And once again, a year of Big 12 football that's gonna be really fun to watch. And Arizona State, a lot of returning talent. Listen, I don't like their quarterback. He's just a big crybaby when you see him play football. He's like a Patrick Mahomes. He cries to the refs after every single play. It's like, just come on, dude, play football. But he is very good. And Sam Levitt. And I do like their wide receiver group. We got Jordan Tyson, right, coming back. It's gonna be huge for them. I do like you're losing Cam Scattaboo, but they do have a good running back group behind him. One of the guys that took snaps when they took Scattaboo out, especially in those later games when Scattaboo was battling that injury. He did a pretty good job back there for him. So I think Arizona State's going to be fine. I think they're going to be a good football team. I do think that they can repeat and win the Big 12 championship once again. Question is, I think defensively they're going to be fine as well. I'm just worried about that running back position. There's a big shoes to fill in Cam Scattaboo. Can you have maybe a 1-2 punch, instead of giving it to a guy 30 times a game? Can you have a 1-2 punch that's going to be effective? That's going to be huge. But I do think because of Sam Levitt and having some of those key pieces on the offensive line, it's going to be huge for them. Number 7 for me is Oregon. I really like this Oregon team. Like you said, some really good pieces returning on the defensive side of the ball, and with Dan Lanning at the helm, that's going to be huge. Offensively is where it's going to be interesting. They got some good guys back there coming back, but at the quarterback position, what do we have? Dante Moore, right? Is he the guy that is second string now at Oregon? I think it's Dante Moore, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look. I don't want to be wrong about that. Anyways, a guy that is very talented, started at UCLA, came over to Oregon. A guy that's very athletic. Good. He has a build kind of like Jaden Daniels, a little skinny, but can stay in the pocket. It's very tough. But you're filling the shoes of Dylan Gabriel, a guy that has literally played more football than anyone ever in college football history. He played like 6 seasons of college football and played almost every game in every one of those seasons. Big shoes to fill, but Dan Lanning doesn't want to be embarrassed again, right? They're going to be aggressive. He's going to want to not only go back to back in the Big Ten, but he's going to want to win a national championship. And I think because of that drive, we'll see what happens. I'm just worried about that quarterback position, man. Once again, that's with a lot of these teams. What's going to happen there? Next one we have is Clemson. Look, one of my boys is a big Clemson fan. I went down to the game that actually EJ went to in the Orange Bowl, Clemson versus Tennessee in 2022. First time in Miami Garden Stadium. It was gorgeous down there. Great stadium. If you guys ever had the opportunity to go, it's awesome. Clemson, a team that has a lot of returning talent. Dabo Swinney at the helm, a guy that knows a national title, caliber football team. You talked about, you have K. Klubnik, right? A guy that got, if you watch him last year, got more comfortable as the season went along, right? He really did. He had Phil Moffitt back there. He got more comfortable in that big playmaking offense, and they really found the groove late. Is that going to transfer to this season? We'll see. I think it has to. I think I'm not saying Dabo Swinney's on the hot seat, but with how Clemson started this year, Clemson fans were pissed. They were not happy. This was supposed to be one of those big years for him, and it wasn't that. So they lose to SMU, so that kind of, no, they beat SMU, but obviously SMU makes the playoff. They don't, or made it further, whatever. They were ranked above them. Pissed off Clemson. And so we'll see we'll see how that translates to this season. Can they make it back to the ACC championship and win it? I think that they will, just because I feel like they have no other choice and people are really on Dabo Swinney's ass. So we'll see what happens down there, in South Carolina and see how that goes. So that's my 10-6. EJ, let's go through the top 5. Let me hear. What we'll do is I'll let you go 5-4. I'll go 5-4, and then we'll do our top 3.
All right, sounds good. I love those picks, by the way. Love those picks.
Love it.
Number 5, Georgia Bulldogs. Listen, Georgia fans, I know you always want to be number 1, but I got you at number 5 this year. At least for right now. We'll have to wait and see. Gunnar Stockton. I call him Stockholm. You didn't impress me in the Notre Dame game, buddy. I said you'd come out and you would do what I thought you were going to do. But you let them sack, strip, and scoop on you on the last middle 8. And guess what happened? You couldn't even score more than 10 points. So that's not great. But it's still Georgia. You got Nate Frazier coming back. Now, Nate Frazier, when you don't fumble, you're a really good running back. Stop fumbling. Except when you play Florida, then you can fumble. Dylan Bell, really like this guy. I think Georgia needs to help. They need another wide receiver. I can't believe what I was watching when I saw the Notre Dame game. People are wide open. Well, maybe it's not Gunner's totally his fault, because people are wide open, and guess what? They got butterball hands. You can't catch. How are you a Georgia Bulldog and you can't catch a pass in the Sugar Bowl? So, but other than that, it's still Georgia. Their defense had a little bit of a down year, even though they were a great defense. From a Georgia standard, you should be the best defense. I expect them next year to be really good. So let's see what happens. So I got Georgia at number 5 because I'm thinking that they're going to be really, really good. But here's the deal. With the transfer portal and this, that, every day I'm portaling, guess what? Didn't look like Kirby Smart was as dominant as some of these other teams. So that's why I got you at number 5. Number 4. They look familiar, don't they? The national champs. Now listen, people are going to say, well, you should have the national champs number 1. You should always put them in number 1 because they're the national champs. Guys, this isn't the 80s. Okay. First of all, Ohio State, I really like you. You went out. Now, I don't know who your defensive coordinator is going to be because you let Jim Beyonce Knowles go to Penn State because you didn't pay him enough. And he called you out for it. How much is a top-notch defense worth, Ohio State? You got to pay the man. I do like Chip Kelly, though. He's great. Your quarterback. Who the heck's your quarterback going to be? They're saying it's going to be Julian Saiyan. Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan. But here's the deal. He's never really played a lot of college ball. You're still going to be able to beat people, but is he going to go DJ Lagway his way to the top? Who knows? You probably don't even need a good quarterback when you got Jeremiah Smith coming back. How much are you paying this guy? Listen, you can have Daffy Duck at quarterback for all we care. Just they're man-to-man, lob it up. That's all you do. First down. I really like the defense. You've also got Caleb Downs coming back. Ohio State. You're looking really good. But I got you at number 4 only because of the quarterback situation. I need some comfort. Julian Sands on your roster. He's a top-rated quarterback. Never seen the guy throw a ball. How the hell am I supposed to know if he's good? But I got you at number 4 because if Ryan Day says you can throw, guess what? You can throw. Uh-oh, I think you're on mute.
There you go. I'm back. No, I totally agree. I think that, yeah, Ryan Day knows his shit, man. I think that he's very reliable. My number 5 and number 4. Number 5, I have Penn State. Look, Penn State, I mean, you got Jim Knowles coming in. That is huge. And your defense was already unbelievable. And now you got a guy like Knowles coming. That's insane. And you have returners. You have Drew Aller coming back. You have Nick Singleton and Katron Allen coming back. That is unbelievable. They're going to be one of the best rosters in college football. But I have a big issue. My big issue is James Franklin. He can never get over the hump. He can never make it. It's funny. People were like, oh, he finally did it. He finally made it over the hump. He's fine. And then, but it's funny because the wins he had were what over, who did they win? They played SMU and
Boise.
And Boise. They had the easiest route in the college football playoff, in my opinion. And it's like, okay, yeah, you won those 2 games, but guess what? You were more talented than those teams. You were favorited over those teams. And then right when you play a team that is, you're pretty even in talent with, you lose. You lose. So that's my thing with Penn State. But I think that they have the potential to win a national championship. I thought, listen, if they would have made it to the national championship, I would have picked them to win it. They didn't. They lost. Drew Aller did not look good. He could not complete a pass to a single receiver in that game. That's why I have them number 5. Number 4 for me is Texas. Look, this is a tough one for me because the Arch Manning hype is so weird. This kid just signed a $6.6 million NIL deal with like Red Bull or something. What? EJ, what the hell, man?
Money.
That is 6 times more money than Brock Purdy had in his rookie contract that he's making right now. What? This kid hasn't even he started 1 college football game? 2? I mean, just unbelievable, man. Look, I think he's I think the reason I have them still at number 4 is I think he's a very talented quarterback. And you're in a, Steve Sarkisian offensive scheme that, he is a proven offensive play caller. And I think they're under Steve Sarkisian, they're always going to be a top 10 team. And with the talent that they have on defense and on the offensive side of the ball, with those running backs coming back in that backfield to help Arch Manning and take some of the weight off of him, I think that they will be a really good football team and be very scary. My issue is all that money going to get to Arch Manning's head? Now, I will say this. I think that there's less of a chance of that happening because he already had that kind of weight on his shoulders of being a Manning, so he already kind of knows how to deal with that. So that I'd give him that over just the average kid that comes up and is a starting quarterback and the star of a team. But still, man, think about it. When Caleb Williams got offered that penthouse suite his last year in college football, remember when they went 7-5 the year after he won the Heisman? Just saying, that stuff gets to these kids' heads. Is that going to happen with Arch Manning? Yeah, I think it might, but just because of all the other, C.J. Baxter, all these other guys in the backfield, they're a very talented team. I think that Texas is going to be okay. So there you go. That's my number 4. EJ, let's hear your top 3.
Top 3. Ding, 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 ding. All right. Now, I agree with everything you said about Texas. I got Tejas coming in at number 3. Now, Arch Manning. You don't even need the $6.6 million, dude. Your daddy makes all that money. Peyton Manning. He can give you whatever. Eli Manning, they can give you whatever you want. You don't even need the $6 million. Here's the deal. I wonder how the money is changing people. Because if you're Arch Manning, you're thinking, well, now I actually have to play and be criticized if I don't throw a completion on every pass. If Quinn Ewers came back, he could make $6.6 million and be the most famous guy in Texas. Because you know what they say. The backup quarterback is the most popular guy on the team. Hell, I'd like to do that and make $6.6 million and not have to play it down. So now we're going to see if Arch Manning can get it done. I like his legs. I like his deep ball. Hell, that's all you need nowadays. Wisner. Good little running back. He's coming back. Wingo, wide receiver, coming back. And the Texas defense finally showed us something. Now, Texas and Tennessee were in a similar boat this year. They both made the playoff. Both had to play Ohio State. They both start with a T. They both are orange.
They're both UT.
They both had easy. They both are UT. They both had easy schedules. Dude, we didn't have an easy schedule. Yeah, you had an easy schedule. Okay, Tennessee, you didn't play. We were the second best team on your schedule. Florida. Who else was on your schedule other than Alabama? Nobody. Texas, you didn't play anybody either. When you played us, we had Make-A-Wish kid at quarterback. But I will say this. Because of that, you don't play a hard schedule. You got Arch Manning, $6.6 million. He's hyped up on Red Bull. You should be able to win 11 games if all things are going well. And the media is going to want to have Texas in there. So guess what? You're number 3. Number 2. I love number 2. Well, I don't like doing number 2. But some people, it's kind of gross. But anyway. Notre Dame. Now, some people are going to say, well, Notre Dame, they don't have a quarterback. Yeah, they do. I saw the guy play. Angelic Angeli. I didn't even put him in here. Angelic Angeli. Let me tell you something. When that guy got out there, he was throwing dimes. I was like, man, keep this guy in there. Leonard, they brought him back in the second half. I was like, well, why are you bringing him back? Are you going to run? Angeli got something. Now, they are saying that he's going to be in a quarterback battle with somebody else, but if it's me, I'm putting Angeli out there. And then guess who you got? Show much love. Jeremiah Love at running back. That's all you need. This guy can run all over people.
Huge that he's coming
Now,
back.
here's the deal. You didn't even give him the ball when you played Ohio State. What were you thinking? Well, you were down by 30 points, so maybe that's why. But still.
He was a little hurt too. He definitely was probably about 70%.
Well, I take a 70% love over 100% whatever they were doing.
It's true.
It's
true.
So, love. And then guess what? Our man is going to have a great defense. So, Notre Dame, people say you should be in a conference because you always get criticized. They played like a champion. Notre Dame, you're number 2. And now this was a very difficult decision as to who I was going with for number 1. People are going to want to say, well, you should pick a normal number 1 team because defending national champs. But I said, listen, who made it the furthest and did the most and is returning the most people? Penn State. Now I get it. James Franklin, you're cursed. You can't beat anyone that's anywhere. If a team is like anywhere near as good as you are in terms of your talent, it's the automatic jinx, and Penn State's going to lose. But maybe this year's different. And you know why I really put you at number 1? Because not only do you have Drew Aller and Singleton and Allen, I love those guys. That might be the second best backfield in the nation behind Lagway and Baugh and Jackson. But the reason I put you at number 1 is because our man, Jim Beyonce Knowles, he's your defensive coordinator. You know what that means? We're going to actually get stops on 3rd down now. We're actually going to blitz. We're actually going to play zone. We're going to stop people. Maybe that's all you need. One more stop a game on average. You probably wouldn't have lost the game. You definitely wouldn't have lost to, who's the team you lost to in the regular season? I guess it was Ohio State. Yeah. That was a close game. So guess what? Jim Beyonce Knowles knows the Ohio State playbook. When you play Ohio State, Penn State will be ready. Aller. Now, Aller, you got to throw to a wide receiver, buddy. I don't know what that was against Notre Dame, but it wasn't it. You got to throw to a wide receiver. I know people are going to look at me like, what the hell is this? Joe Paterno is not the coach anymore. Penn State, don't let me down. Number 1.
Do you know if Tyler Warren is coming back? The tight end for Penn State? That's going to be a big-time loss if he's going to the NFL.
I thought he was leaving.
Okay. So so now someone has to step up in that position on the offensive side of the ball. Because Drew Aller likes that tight end. He likes to throw to tight ends, as we know. So someone has to step up there and go crazy. But I like that pick. I like that pick a lot. That just having Jim Knowles as your defensive coordinator, that's just like unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right. I like it. Let's go to my top 3. Starting at number 3, I have the Fighting Irish. They're at number 3, Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman, dude, what a head coach. He's one of my favorite coaches in college football right now. You can tell he loves his guys. He's grounded. He doesn't have a lot of energy. But he's just very methodical, and I love it. You could tell he's not one of those coaches like Lane Kiffin that goes in and brings a bunch of guys in the transfer portal, you know what I mean, and just doesn't know how to build a roster. You could tell this team cares about each other. They have, getting Love back is unbelievable. That is one of the biggest returnees in college football. Because you're going to need help because I don't know who that quarterback's going to be. I do like that quarterback you talked about. He came in. It was obviously very easy, scripted, one-read passes that he made. But still, you're coming in at a big moment. It was a semifinal, wasn't it? Coming in this semifinal, huge game. The nation's watching you. He didn't look too nervous. He came in, made some great throws, drove him down the field. Riley Leonard obviously comes back out. I think they get 3 points, or is it 3 points or I think it was 3 points on that drive. So look, against a really good defense. So look, I think that they're going to be a good little team next year. Defensively, I think they're fine. My problem with Notre Dame is what do they have on the outside in the wide receiver position? How many returnees? I don't think they have a lot. So can you make your quarterback comfortable? You can't just rely on Jordan Love because obviously he's injury prone, as we know. So can you make it easy for this quarterback, first year in the system, not first year in the system, but first year starting, to get your playmakers in the open field. He obviously was pretty comfortable throwing the ball down the field and in the middle of the field in that semifinal game. So that's something you'd like to see. A lot of guys are very hesitant, to throw those passes in the middle because you have these, dropping defensive ends. You got the linebackers there, the safeties coming up. He looked very comfortable throwing these slants and throwing it into tight windows. So I think as a fan, you got to be very excited for that. So Notre Dame, I think they're going to keep up the consistency. I really trust Marcus Freeman there at the helm. Number 2 I have is Georgia, a team that I'm very high on. I agree, Gunnar Stockton. You know me, I talk so bad on this kid. And then going in that semifinal game, I happen to be right, but I will say this: I think in this having another year under the system as the starting quarterback, because he knew he wasn't going to start under Carson Beck. But now that he's starting, he's more mobile. You could tell he's very aggressive. He's physical. When he put his head down and got absolutely obliterated at like the 3-yard line in that game, definitely had a concussion. But man, he's just an aggressive player. I like his energy. He's a Georgia boy. I think the team's going to get around him. I do agree. Their wide receiver room this year was one of the worst wide receiver rooms I've ever seen. You had Dylan Bell, but yeah, you had not Lat McConkey. Who's the other guy that came in? The other little short white guy. I don't know. He was pretty good. He had good moments. But you gotta have that guy, right? And Georgia did not have that guy this year, and they still made it pretty far in the playoff. So I expect Georgia to maybe get a couple guys out of the transfer portal if they haven't yet. In the wide receiver room, because someone has to step up. If no one steps up, Georgia is not going to be a top 5 team. But if someone does, I think they're going to be solid because they have obviously probably a top 3 talent, I would say, in the country. So that's going to get you far as it is, and I think with Kirby Smart at the helm, he can win a national championship any single year and will contend every single year when he's head coach there. Number 1, I have Ohio State. I really like this Ohio State team, man. A lot of returnees. I think a lot of guys, they just want to beat Michigan this year, man. These guys are pissed. Now that they won a national championship, I think Ryan Day finally got over that hump, right? Same thing with James Franklin. If he can win the national championship, I think they will consistently win the national championship. I think Ryan Day doubted himself whether he wants to admit it or not about him winning these big games, right? Now that he's done it, he believes in himself. His team believes in him. Now all the outside noise saying, "Oh, you can't win that's gone now. That's gone. Now it's straight focus on Michigan. Now it's straight focus on, hey, we did this before. Let's do this shit again." Right? And I think they're going to be as angry as ever. You have Jim Knowles leaving you. That's fine. We're going to go get the Rutgers head coach and bring him over. Who's a very good head coach, by the way. Will Howard's going out. That's okay. We have a great backup quarterback. That's one of the best quarterbacks in his class. He's going to step up and play well. We're losing our running back to the NFL. That's fine. We have a couple of guys in the back that are going to come in here and dominate. We're going to reload. We're going to be what Georgia and Alabama used to be. We're just going to reload, and go at this year. And I think Ohio State fans, they're ready to seize it, baby. There's a weird energy around that program that is scary. And I think that they can go on a crazy run here these next few years and be consistently dominant. Now that Ryan Day finally has confidence in himself and that his fans have his back, I think that's huge. So we'll see. Gonna be fun. That's our top 10 though, man. That's gonna be my top 3. It's my top 10. Like I said, I did miss Tennessee, but Tennessee is probably around 17, 18 for me. Like I don't have too much trust in Nico. That's my thing, is I don't think Nico's the quarterback for a Josh Heupel system. But yeah, that's gonna be our top 25. Anyone that has any criticisms or anything, I'm sure there's plenty. Let us know. Who's your top 10? Who's your top 5? What do we get wrong? What do we get right? Me and EJ, I think, had the same exact top 10. It was just, same amount of teams, just like, switched around. So we kind of have the same idea. EJ, any final thoughts on the top 25 we gave?
I think this is a great top 25. I think it's well thought through. Yeah, I think the top 10, it is what it is. It'll be interesting to see the playoff race this year. I think it'll be a little bit, it was wide open this year a little bit, but by the time you got to the playoffs, it's like, man, Ohio State is turning it on. Who can do that this year? It'll be interesting to see. I like Auburn. I like how you had Auburn in there. I actually really like them as a pick. But yeah, maybe you'll have to bump them out now and put Tennessee in.
That's honestly probably how it'll go, man. That's honestly how it'll go. I love it. Well, yeah, you guys let us know, man. Like I say, your thoughts on that. Also, any lists that you guys want us to make, whether it's Heisman, whether it's the draft class list, whatever you guys want us to do, we will start doing that in the future. Make sure you guys follow us on our Instagram. Link will be down in the description down below. The SwampCast Pod on Instagram, man. We will be telling you guys every time we go live because we're going to start doing live videos from now on. But yeah, we love you guys. CJ, any last words to everyone out there?
Peace, love, and happiness.